is up, everyone? It is great to be back in action. We are live, not in the hive. That's Bree, who is amazing. You should go check out her channel. But yes, we are tonight opening up the internet phone lines on Call Me Skeptical.
We are?
We are?
Is that what we're doing?
Is this thing on? That's right. Creationism, dun dun dun, where we're opening up the internet phone lines to see, can anyone please help us understand why would someone believe in creationism? You know, James? Yeah.
Why?
So won't you join? Maybe we'll figure out. James W. and
Maybe
myself.
This time we'll get some answers. I don't think we got any last time.
Not this time, Gadget. But yes, join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, as we create a fun time.
We'll get you next time, God. Next time.
Next time, God. Had to get all of my amazingness, but welcome everyone out there. Gizmo and Penelope both say hi. Hi, I know. As we tonight talk creationism, our producer Gizmo.
He's got to make his appearance, you know. His adoring cadre of fans mobbing him at every turn.
Well, I just have to say, if I could do a prophecy, if there is a kitty that may be turned into an emoji one day, but we hope that you are all enjoying it out there. Call Me Skeptical is actually a show where we can't help ourselves. We actually prefer to hear views that differ from our own. However, we do love all of you atheist, science, skeptical-minded people. However,
round earthers, you know, sane people.
I love that could even be a phrase. Just the fact that it's like, you round earthers.
Globetards.
It's got to be a hard position. Like, there's a lot of bad things to come, you know, out at Thanksgiving during conversations, but to be the guy or gal, even girls could be conspiracy theorists, that believes in flat Earth. That's got to be a hard sell over turkey. But yes, if you think the Earth is 6,000 years old, that vaccines are a hoax, or that the world is flat, then oh, gee willigers, you should speak to us momentarily. However, sending love out there. In fact, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, and hit that bell icon, which when hit to all will send you reminders to see our premieres. We've been releasing a whole bunch of more premiere content, as well as all of the lovely people. What is up, Pat? What is up, Krish?
Hey,
and
Pat.
God equals the square root of -1. And Ogre. And Rejos. Oh my. That's right. 2 scoops of streams. Sending love to Rejos, who sends us so much love. One of my goals this month, I used to do like within the next stream or so, but instead this month for the holidays, I am going to make sure the Twitch stream has all of the fun emojis and all of the fun badges, and Twitch has flair. So that's my other goal, is get Twitch flair out there.
How many pieces of flair?
Flair. You know what's funny? Twitch allows 3 pieces of flair.
That's it.
Up to 3 levels. However, James, if you think about it, no flair is really a tier in itself, so it could be really 4. But that's I'd love to read.
I don't know what Amy thinks about people who only do the bare minimum.
The bare minimum of flair. I feel like you need to out-flare your neighbor. But sending love to the Sinister Porpoise and Binge Thinker.
The Christian
Doorknob
channels,
Head.
they have like 47 pieces of flair. But
Exactly. I feel like once it gets up to 68 pieces of flair, they get a little bit of nervous. I don't know why, but something about that number. JG.
They start hitting that communion a little harder.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like to think that there is some sort of pastor out there that just like got like a bag of communion wafers and wine and just like sits there having like a good old snack and a drink. It's almost like you gotta get them from BJ's or Costco's or Sam's Club. When you think about, the life and blood of Jesus, I like to think go bulk.
Well, it reminds me of the time that a Catholic priest consecrated Doritos as as the communion host.
Dangerously cheesy. Oh, that's Cheetos. Close enough. Sending love also to everyone out there. We are about to do our little spiel. We'll try and do it quickly because we really just want to send the link out there to all of those creationists. We're really sending love out to you. Earth is 6,000.
They know who they are.
6,000. They know who. That's true. The Earth is at least 6,000 years old. My joke is, if you had to choose one, because they make it seem like it's thousands, millions, billions. I mean, numbers. Who even counts numbers? But if someone told you that you had 6,000 in your bank account, okay, sounds good. But if someone says you had 4.50000000, I feel like those would be 2 different, feelings that you got from looking at that number. But
you would have like a Kenneth Copeland feeling. Pat Robertson.
Get the way that Matt Powell feels every night that he looks up at Daddy Kent.
Daddy Kent, he's got his appeal is coming up, so we may find out what happens to him shortly.
With Cindy.
Yeah, we're gonna find out how if he's gonna be spending some time with Bubba, as he affectionately like to call him.
Oh. Just doing my Ken Hovind expression. But what can wash away my sin? Nothing.
Blood of Jesus.
Also, I was thinking, and maybe it was just because I am a procrastinator, but you now have another debate hooked up.
I do have a debate hooked up.
But
I forgot.
And so I thought it was. I originally thought maybe he's not inviting me because we lightly roast, Kent baby. But if you're getting one, it can't be. I mean, we're equal in the roasting chestnuts department.
Next time I see him, I'll ask him what the hell is going on with yours.
I was going to say I would love to be on, but I will be there. I want you to know very specifically, and I hope Kent knows this, in a cheerleading outfit for James's. No one will see me, but I'll be there at Pop Pubs. I'll still be there.
Wednesday, January 11th. It's not versus Kent this time, but it is versus Mr. Praise I Am That I Am on the topic is biblical slavery is morally good. And
That's right.
I'm going to take the no on that end. And of course, Mr.
James,
Praise is going to say that.
Are you sure you want to really put yourself on record as the no on slavery? I feel like
I know it's really taken a stand for like if I were to get more woke than that, I mean, I don't know what. That's really going crazy. But yeah,
I know. Basically, you might as well be dyeing the rest of your hair blue. And
pretty much.
I imagine whether you own a bra or not, I assume you should be burning it at this point.
We'll go get something. We'll burn them. Yeah, the ogre. This was actually like a meme that Praise posted like 4 or 5 months ago, and I said, "Oh, you want to have a debate?" And finally, we got around to getting it scheduled. So there we go.
And what's up, Beamsy? And maybe, I swear, sometimes I can never tell if it is because of, is it the LGBTQ thing? Is it because I know how to wrap basically every subject back around to why religion is horrible? And so I know a lot of the flat earthers don't like me because they're like, why are they bringing up my Lord and Savior into this conversation? He is the pillar of why I believe all of this. But religion, really?
Don't attack the religion. Come on.
Exactly. But yes, let's just quickly, I guess I'm going to give our little thanks, and then we'll, as we are doing the openers, that is when I will send the link out.
The link.
Exactly, to get people lined up. And I will say this as we keep on saying this, the more you agree with us, chances are the longer you will wait, unless, none of the creationists step up to that, in which case, who knows, maybe it'll just be a whole bunch of logical people talking to us all night. But yes, during the show, don't forget, you can keep on tab. We'll say hi to everybody, but if you do want your specific comment, question, or thought, especially when there's no back or forth, it's always easier. Tag James W. or myself at Amy Newman with your thoughts, questions, or one-liners. We're watching. Not 24/7, 365 like they're God, but I also love, like, the new thing is, like, not only it has to be the Big G God, but, like, completely, I guess when you're calling it Big G, you're already giving it reverence. But when I listen to these pre-suppers and all this, they're just absolutely triggered by any definition that is not the ultimate God. No, not another definition exists. You're like, actually, for thousands of years before your religion even existed, no one heard of the Big G of your type of God. But yes, anyway, sending love out there. The show is sponsored by subscribers, our viewers, but of course, everyone who sends out all of our love with super chats, all of our channel members. You can become and join and get our evolving badge system that just over time, it evolves. It's crazy. Just very incremental changes.
God equals the square root of -1. Yeah, you could talk to Ultimated Judeo-Christian about that. God I'd like to F, because, well, he can tell you all about that.
Can I have to say that is, without a doubt, one of the funniest things. Because it falls under such a perfect Poe's law, because some of the, fringe creationists that we talk to, it's sometimes hard to be like,
It can be hard
Do you
to
really believe this? But they come back with such not biblical. He comes back a little bit too lovingly, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other creationists just come with like hate and then like a condescension of something, of subjects they should not have. Most experts don't have condescension. You know, there's actually. Let me say this. Let me paint with this. Speaking as small as a brush, because there's lots of experts that are condescending too. There's lots of human beings that are condescending. But I have found, just in the conversations that I don't know, you and I have come across, it just seems that the more expertise in a subject that someone has in these fields, the more humble they are when they even just start to put their foot outside of their own expertise. Even when it's like, I'm a biologist, but that's technically something that you would want a geneticist to understand. And then when it comes to the creationists, they're like, oh my God, don't you understand, James? I have a online unaccredited PhD in abiogenesis. I know, basket weaving, dark matter, and apparently biochemistry and evolution, consciousness,
dark matter physicist, quantum particle specialist, atomizer, penile inspector emeritus.
Now we have double the kits. Well, all right. I don't know if he's taking care of business or eating food, but now we have more cats in the room. I also like to think
PhD
that
in litter box.
A podcast exponentially gets better, the amount of cats that you have. I'm pretty sure that's a scientific fact. Probably.
You get their PhD in litter box scooping.
That's right. Me and Kent shared the same thesis. Okay. But yes.
Hello, my name is Moonlight.
My name is
Moonlight's doctoral.
All right. So, you'll find someone who studied something and likes to talk about it. We'll try and make it as easy. Yo, that's another thing that I like to, I guess, sell, is that there's just two goals with the creationist, and I would say someone who understands science, the scientist. The scientist's goal is to convey information, and the creationist's goal is to sound technical. And those are two very different goals.
That they really don't understand all that well.
If anything, exactly that. And their defense is the unclarity of their position and their words, in that a lot of the sentences they make, you're like, well, there was English in there, and I know English, and
possibly
those all had the words in there, but a lot of it is gibberish or needlessly complex and sophisticated in order to hide what they really mean.
Excessive amounts of jargon.
Yes. Funny enough, it's politically correct.
Jargon.
Religiously correct? I'm not sure what to call it in this. Yes, exactly, Beamsy. Someone's using convoluted language, unnecessary, trying to hide their true meaning behind technical sounding vocabulary. Exactly. But who isn't hiding behind technical sophisticated language is our channel members, as well as the best way to help us, last but certainly not least, all of our Patreons at patreon.com/Newman, which helps us make even more content, including supporters like Moonlight and Gizmo and Penelope. But beyond the cats, as well as Oz from the Atheist Network Group at youtube.com/the Atheist Network Group, because we're connecting atheists around the world, as well as Queen #producer Jena, Biddy Buddha, Shane the Skeptic. Saw him out there, and I see him and Titan always posting great stuff on Discord. I'm gonna make the Discord even more active. That is that's a New Year's resolution. Need to figure out how to promote active debates. Yeah, or at least make the channel more active. It gets very active for our after shows, but I kind of want to give it a politics and religion and a politics vibe, but as our skeptic and ranting community. So probably leaning a little bit more towards us, but welcoming towards theists and all that. That's exactly, or creationists, young earth, and etc. PR speaking. All right, sending love to grumpy old Cuss, who makes us bleep at these young earth and flat earthers. Diana Smith reminding us that 51% of the planet probably shouldn't be treated like chattel. We should also treat our kitties really well. Sure. Just eat and run. Our children, don't they just do that to us all? Sending love to Pat Lowinger. We saw him out there. Amazing. We need to get Pat back on here because he has shared so much expertise with the community. We want to get him to share it again because we just love him. We need to. Oh my goddess, he's like, do you need any expertise in where, like, a birds and bees conversation and whether it comes from the ribs? Did you think that that's where it came from? Oh my God, religion. Like, that's the only reason a misconception like that can stay around for thousands of years is religion. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's because Islam has a interpretation that they're like, the semen comes from the ribs, and the Islamic apologetic is like, well, you're blooded. There's like body stuff that basically is in your chest area, and that basically makes it to your balls
kind
eventually.
Kind of the same thing, right?
It's kind of like the same thing. Like, really? Is that where you go into the shower at night and you're just like, yeah, oh yeah? If you do, and if that's what you're into, go for it. I'm skeptical.
With that,
to say the least.
Unborn babies are look like chewed bubble gum, something like that.
Oh, I know. And they use that as like, we're supposed to be like, how could they have known that, James? It was only 600 AD.
That's like, who's that? Our good friend P-Town. Like, the Bible says there's a lot of stars. Look up at the sky. There's a lot of stars. How did they know?
I assume by looking up.
Unless God beamed that information specifically to their head for them to write the Bible.
See, I feel bad every time. I would say I have a Socratic method and a enjoyable conversation on P-Town, but I listen to him when on there because I almost feel bad. Like, I don't want to beat up on Randolph's stream. Because some of them, because he's often the nicest guy, or one of the nicer guys that comes up. Beamsy comes on there often, but he's so sane and rational that, yeah. But some of them, what I find are the most, what's the word, combative maybe? Are the people that just don't like that we're even asking the question. Which is belligerent, thank you. But it's like the ones that are like, why are we even doing this? Why are you even having people come here and asking us why you think of God?
P-Town.
What's up, P-Town?
Oh, boy.
Just some of the... like I said, P-Town, you're nice. I disagree with a lot of your positions, but you're a nice guy.
At least he's willing to tell you what he believes in. At least he's willing to go on the record. A lot of them won't even go that far.
Well, a lot of them just will, depending on what branch of, apologetics you are. Yeah, you're not even going to defend your own beliefs. It's all about lawyering, lawyering, and being a narcissist. I don't know what it is about presuppositionalism.
We could read God into existence from the dictionary and say, well, he has to exist because he's in the dictionary.
I used to talk with someone that was like that. He doesn't come on as much anymore. We don't go head to head. Also, sending love to Disciple Day. Sending love, another theist in there.
Well,
I know.
Did find out
Disciple Day.
last call-in show that unicorns were actually real. We got that message straight from God midstream. That speaking to our caller that. By the way, if you're ever wondering, unicorns were real. And if you're Christian, and you're wondering if Darth Dawkins, if you're going to listen to Darth Dawkins drone on forever in heaven, the answer was yes. He is yes. Going. He is on the list. So yeah, you'll be listening to him forever
and ever.
I don't switching sides.
And James. They don't think they say we're not sincerely seeking, we're not actually looking for evidence, we're not blah 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 blah, because we're not good faith interlocutors, which is funny because I would say that the people who are actually looking for evidence are the skeptics, and the people that just, I don't know, come in with what not always what their parents tell them, but the worldview of their community that they were raised in. It's amazing that you never come to Jesus in a Muslim country. You never seem to come to Muhammad oftentimes when it is a Christian dominated culture.
Certainly not as often.
And okay, we can but sending love. I know. I'm supposed to go back on to. I'm going to go on to a lot of those streams. Just the apologists, the Dawaist streams, all of them. Sending love to Pat. Sending love to Dale Pastel, reminding us that we're looking for empirical evidence. Sending love to Dave Gar, that we're looking for a round Earth. Really? A little bit around Earth. So thank you, Dale. Thank you, Dave Gar. Sending love to Scott Duke. Sending love to Answers in Atheism, because we are sending love, because we to all of our to our brothers and sisters who are other animals. I didn't know if I was going to say it, but I just wanted to say it because I've had even though it was really kind of like, to me, more of a friend. Well, a relative's fur baby passed, and so it was a very difficult and and I almost felt guilty, because it was like you really want, it's like this person should be properly grieving, but it's still my brother, no matter what. And so it just bothers me when we do not treat other conscious creatures as worthy. And I say, don't have to go as crazy vegan. Well, I actually think veganism is the more easily defendable position. However, I have all these, we'll call them proclivities, that if you can get me to eat a salad a day, that'll be lucky. And so, yeah, just sending, not to be a downer, but you have to. I'm just glad that we are one of the organisms that actually grieves, that we are one of the organisms, along with dolphins and elephants and crows and many other highly introspective, sentient, conscious beings, and our cats and our dogs are wonderfully, highly intelligent, emotional beings who are our brothers, our sisters, and our children. And so that's my little, I had to extra give out there. So sending love. We don't believe. Lots of love. Sleep well, Gizmo. Not Gizmo. Cosmo. Oh my God. Gizmo is still producing. Sending love, Cosmo. Okay. Laugh or cry, people. Those are two emotions, but they're strong emotions, and they share a lot in common. We're moving along. Sending love to Scott Duke. Sending love, because we are talking creationism. We should just have respect for our other animals. And the other thing, that's the last thing I say about this, okay? Because a lot of the creationists, they can't wrap their mind around it. They think, how can you lower yourself to insert other animal? Oftentimes, it's highly offensive. It's like, how can you compare yourself to an orangutan when an orangutan basically looks like us? Like, holy shit.
Pretty damn similar.
Yeah.
It's hard to deny.
But then, there are some people who have the audacity to say that a dog and cat is not conscious and then go, down with slugs and stuff are conscious. I understand why those are harder to understand, but it always just bothers me when they take pot shots at. There's reasons why we adopted cats and dogs. They're predatory. They're smart and curious, intelligent, emotional beings like us. They're very sentient. Sending so much love. All right. Regos, we saw him out there. We saw him sending so much love to us. Thank you so very much from the YouTubes, the Twitches, the everything on the supports. I see Ian Davenport. I see Big Band Mama. I see Hillary's emails. Alpha Centurion, Pure Aussie Gold. Everyone, keep on saying hi. We'll keep on saying hi. Regis, of course, the lovely, the fabulous, the amazing, the one and only Rachel Holland. Thank you so much. Reminding us once again that, there's the good slavery. That is what you kind of do at the at the feet of your partner. And then there's the bad slavery, the kind where you kind of have like a sword and a book in your hand. Something is not like the other. Okay, anyway, sending so much love to Regis and sending love to Rachel Holland. And sending love to Senator Cato, who reminds us that boom, 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 we enjoy the separation of church and state. Theocracy, autocracy, it can go itself. We like a secular government. That's right, those A-cup rips. Listen, did you know? I mean, it's basically biology. This, it doesn't matter, I assume, male or female. It was a male, but who knew that this is basically where women come from? The
Bible said that 2,000 years ago. They got that one right? Yeah. I mean, how would they have known?
I feel it's terrible to even buy the McRib. I mean, you're basically wasting an organism that could have given birth to a fully grown woman.
But the ribs, did you know that's the only bone in the body that will grow back? So,
which is not true. But yes.
So many things that they just assert and as true that are actually not true, but they all believe it. They all think it's true.
They say it strongly enough.
Yeah.
Where were we? Rachel, Senator Cato, James Wolfe, sending love. We saw him out there. James Wolfe gives us so much love. We see him everywhere. We're sending him all of the love in the world as we're howling at the moon. Oh.
Thanks, James.
See, now remind me of my other dog. In fact, one of the reasons why I say woo hoo hoo is because my dad with my dog Kirby would go woo hoo 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 hoo, and that got shortened to woo hoo. So we woo hoo at the moon. Okay, sending love to James Wolfe. Sending love to Disciple Day. Woo hoo! We have skeptic theists out there sending so much love because we can put religion and science in our own boxes. Yeah. Thank you, Disciple Day. And the two last, but certainly not least, we are sending love out to the amazing Ian Davenport. He
Thanks,
reminds
Ian.
us that you should not believe magic. James, do you know how they created all of the animals? And they, I guess, mean God.
He/they.
Yeah, that's right. He, they. That's true.
Jesus.
They are both a male and genderqueer.
God and the Holy Spirit, and they're three, but they're also one. But they really are also three at the same time. They're also one, and it doesn't have to make sense. It can't make sense. In fact, it doesn't have to make sense. You just believe it anyway. Because
did you know that reason was treason? I'm pretty sure.
Well, because that's actually what God says. Yeah, doesn't make sense. I have no evidence for it. I can't make it make sense to you, but believe it anyway, or else.
Believe it anyway. Or else. You get the baseball bat of kindness.
Reason is treason. I haven't seen Ralph around lately.
Oh. Well, maybe he'd start. I hate to think that he had a thought and then he started to reason. And I assume because of the treason, the religious police just took him away.
No, I'll have to check to see if he's on the naughty list.
The naughty list. Oh my!
That's probably
that might be too. Sending love to Ian Davenport. Boom, boom, boom. And last but certainly not least, sending love to Abcdeig. Woo! Reminding us that it doesn't matter if you are a young or flat earther. You don't have a model. Unlike, I don't know, these scientists that can explain
model
galaxies, planets, the creation of stars from
God just did it.
Other stars. Have to be careful with that C word. They hear that like creation. But no, there was no supernatural processes. There was no creators.
God made all these
physics all the way down.
These other galaxies and stars just to show us how big he was.
My! I like to think so.
That he is infinite in size, as a matter of fact.
I just want to know anyone who's infinite in size, because that person is definitely is getting on Rachel's and I's, I think, Christmas thruple list. Da-da-da-da.
The Size Queen Club.
The Size Queen Club. Exactly. And I am getting ready to
EA Dawa going crazy right now. I can't imagine that. What is EA Dawa going crazy about?
Are they?
Did he get kicked out of Chuck E. Cheese too?
About anything specific?
Did the manager tell him he has to leave?
Oh, the whole panel.
Yeah.
The whole panel is spicy.
Pandemonium. It's like Jerry Springer over on EA Dawa.
Jerry. Muhammad.
It's like a WWE scene, friendly Muslims grabbing a chair and whacking atheists in the back.
Here we go. Our lovely little dumpster fire is ready. He's so cute.
Just go ahead and drop those Qurans in there while you're at it.
No. Well, see, they always get triggered by, I don't burn books out of respect for books, but I think we should all have the freedom to burn books. That is how you know you are in a truly free society. You shouldn't burn other people's books. That's just being a dick. But you should be able to do with whatever you want. If you want to rip pages of the Bible out and make them your bed sheets, and the same with the Quran or the Book of Mormon, you should be able to do that.
Well, you only need free speech to do things that people might find offensive, because if you were just doing stuff that didn't bother anybody, you wouldn't need that as a freedom. You have to have it as a freedom because you got to be able to sometimes to do and say things that might make some people
Also,
mad.
I can't help it because of that name, but infant relocation service. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the reason why I stopped going. I think he doesn't watch these streams because, like, I kind of took a, I don't know what it is. It's one of those things where I think his channel's bigger, and so when you protest going on a bigger stream, to me, it's always like you go in like, yeah, take that, McDonald's. I'm not going to eat here anymore because no one really cares.
Screw
However,
you, Jeff Bezos.
exactly. But like I struggled a little bit because I've had an emotional dilemma when he first became Khalil. Like it's just so obvious that these religions are cults that I took it secondhand personally because one of our brothers from another mother, that was his guy, and they were bros. And I think I look up to Oz. I said his name. I look up to Oz and Tang and all this shit. I consider myself part of Tang Gang, and so I guess I just felt like I wanted to get him back. I want to get people. That is why James and I are counter-apologists, I think. We like to vent. Yeah. We think, it's cathartic. But I think, a lot of times we get the question, why is it that we do what we do? Why do we talk so much, when we don't believe in it? We talk so much about not collecting hats. And it's like, yeah, because this version of collecting hats
telling us to,
is very dangerous. And whenever we single out Islam or something like that, then they try and use that against us. And they're like, oh, you only care about this one religion, therefore our one religion is true or you shouldn't be listened to. And so we really do have to attack all of them. But if you don't think that the Abrahamic religions, including the Muslim one, was typical cult mentality, just getting people to surround you, to berate you when you ask questions or when you're learning, when you start to go kind of their way, love bomb them. When he actually converted, you take a name change, he changed his clothing. Now, you don't have to do a lot of that stuff. In fact, I find that a lot of people that were raised in Islam find all that shit boring. Like, they dress Western and they just have Muslim names because their parents picked the name, and that's their friggin' name. But when it comes to people like Khalil, and once again, a Janny can't really criticize someone for picking another name. That's not the thing. It's just that it is exactly what this type of drastic life change. Because at least with, in my view, with being LGBTQ, it's like a volcano. It's that it's really hidden all underneath, and sometimes it just goes boom, and then now you're just super fabulous maybe for a year or so. When you first come out, you're so freaking fabulous. But that's not this. This is the opposite of that. It is you are this one thing, and now you are dressing differently to appease a god every day. I always find that funny, too. I know, it's just so funny. It doesn't matter if it's male or female. It doesn't matter if you're wearing a hijab or you are
grooming requirements.
Dressing. I honestly, if I was Arabic, I would almost feel offended. I don't feel offended about anything, but I would a little bit, at least a little bit, find it funny when a new convert, with a new, very light-skinned convert, just decides to dress like they've become an Arab national. It's just okay, whatever, dude. I guess
they're walking down the streets of Tehran.
I'm just trying to think of another thing. It's you just get into Game of Thrones, and so now you're just you are walking everywhere in medieval garb, not even at a Renaissance fair where it's actually fun. but just everywhere now. This is how you
Like-
dress. It's like, okay, fine.
Whatever team wins the Super Bowl, you've never been a fan of them. You just go out and buy all their shit, and then you go the next day. You go around in their regalia and everything.
Well, see, and my thing is, my joke is just, sports is the sports. It's the only acceptable form of tribalism. I think it's the only cute form of tribalism. All other forms of tribalism are ugly. In sports, it's actually fun. You can get drunk and have a hot dog.
Drink beer. And
anything else, it just becomes this. I don't know, nasty in and out.
Unless you're having the World Cup in an Islamic country, then you can't drink beer.
Oh, that's another thing, and I'll say this, and then we'll open it up while we say our opening statements. They're like, these aren't your opening statements, and our opening statements on topic. But so someone recently shared like the FIFA thing. FIFA is not allowing any expressions of LGBTQ. No rainbows, no nothing. And the guy who defended this, the head of it, like, basically the way that he defended it was like, the colonizers have spent the last, and he was speaking apparently as one. He's saying, I am European, so I'm speaking. So we have been colonizing for the past 3,000 years, and thus maybe for the next 3,000 years, we should shut up about telling what other countries what to do. What? So because there was 3,000 years of shitty things happening to people, we shouldn't talk about countries doing crappy things to gay people now? No, that does not follow. And once again, I'm not even arguing whether sports is the best place for politics or whether all this other shit. It's just when they go out of their way to make that sort of thing and be like, oh yeah, who should be talking? Have you seen the past 3,000, and that was the number he gave, 3,000 years of bad shit that went on? So who are we to really talk about? I mean, we get to go back when basically the Torah was becoming written into law. Really? You're going to go that far back? But okay, I feel like we can still criticize things, but thanks, FIFA guy. Once again, I'm not saying we should be talking about politics and sports, but if you're going to use that as a defense, I think you should just shut the... But hey, who am I?
I mean, it's not just sports, because I guarantee you that guy, he's probably European. He would not mince words. He would not hold back about things in, let's say, America that he found to be... he would draw a line in the sand and have no problem standing up for what he believes in on that. But, when it's somewhere else,
that's religious freedom.
Therefore we can't,
Also, why can't just showing gay pride be a religious freedom? That doesn't seem to, X doesn't square.
I don't think they believe in religious freedom.
That's true. And whereas, again, we're not in America, the United States, but still.
Execute or imprison people for not...
Hey, we got a Twitter bot. Thank you, Twitter bot. We don't buy followers and viewers because we are an organic, community-driven channel.
We are?
We are. Wait. Yes, Soros is allowing us to say that. But sending love, Krish, I see you say God exists. Hey, well, what we're going to do, I think it's about time. We've been blabbing our short amount. We always say this, and now we're already. But we're going to send the StreamYard into link. I know. Well, it's been a little bit since we've done a live, so we had a lot of cathartic. So we're going to send the StreamYard into there while I and then James give their opening statement. So come one, come all, and if you disagree with us, if you are, I would say a young Earth, and then followed by old Earth, and then a not a creationist will get the highest
Fair.
priority. That's right. I specifically pay Sinister Porpoise. However, it is only in sardines. That's what, most people don't know. You guys like V for Vendetta? I do like V for Vendetta. I don't like to get too fedora about it, but I thought it was a good movie. Came out around the time when I was in my heyday of 4chan. But we got the link in there. So I'll pin it as well. If you want to join us and call us, we're going one at a time. It tends to go about 10 to 20 minutes with people exactly who agree with us, and about 20 to 40 minutes of people who disagree. But while that's happening, we are going to transition into our opening statements. I just like saying that.
With Mr. Amy Newman, we'll be transitioning.
Mr. Amy Newman.
Mr. Amy Newman.
That was a fun debate.
Mr.
But
Amy,
yes.
Sir, you have a penis, sir.
Oh, my. Are you sure? You're going to have to check. But we're going to check. We already got Beamsy backstage.
But
Beamsy's just going to be...
Newman, I verified that
checked
myself.
very specifically.
Mr. Batman also checked.
Mr. Batman. I love two of the people who have to pronoun me wrong, or else they will die. Seem a little bit unhinged. I don't know. Is there a correlation there?
You're going to hell, sir. Fuck you, sir.
Sir. Okay, with that, we are going to transition, and then... But Beamsy's going to stick around with us forever, because he's just too... He's going to say things that are probably sane and rational. So, young Earthers, you're going to just have to join us as we call me skeptical. Exactly. The fact that we have to keep on saying round, if you just join this channel, you're like, are you really trying to talk about how Christianity... There's not that many flat Earth Christians on the internet. I wish that were true. Please make that true. Please make that true.
Not every Christian on the internet is a flat earther, but virtually every flat earther is a
creationist,
young Earth creationist. Yeah.
Indeed. And on that note, you're going to have to call us skeptical if you disagree on creationism. Oh my, oh my. Creationism. Just take God, then add water. Because everyone knows if we add on an ism, no one will notice that we're selling bullshit. Creationists believe that God had a hand in what they would call special creation, which is different from normal creation we do in temporal space. Some would say it's a pleading to be special. A fallacy, that is. Now, I want to paint with as small a brush as possible. The others got lost where my sun don't shine, and I'm told, biblically speaking, not all religious people care what I put back there. In fact, creationism can be broken into two types. The first, Old Earth, separates their science and religion into two boxes, incorporating their views with those of experts, or what we call creationists who are sane. The second are young Earth, or flat Earth, or whatever age and shape comes through Dunkin' Donuts. These people think a 6,000-year-old Earth is being held up in a dome, or as I call them, padded wall creationists. Because when it comes to creationism, well, just a fancy PR term for 3 words. God done it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need you to elaborate more on part 1. Thank you. And all right, we're gonna get James W. up on here, but I'm just gonna say it. If you would like to join us, creationists, especially of the flat or young or whatever shape and age you got, please come join us. We got Beebsy and Sinister Porpoise back with us.
Yeah,
probably gonna say a bunch of same
people,
irrational stuff.
Same people,
But James W., I mean, this has to be our anti-bread and butter of a subject. I mean, creationism?
It's kind of us hitting. Yeah, we're coming back to an oldie but a goodie. It's kind of one of our cornerstone topics that we talk about all the time, is creationism, which is inextricably linked with theism, pretty much 2 sides of the same coin. But yeah, it's one of the things that we tackle all the time because it keeps coming up in the debate about religion, creationism, the idea that life came from a deity through the means of employing magic to create life. We've never seen magic happen anywhere. We've never found anything that requires magic. We have no reason to think that life requires magic or that the universe requires magic to exist. In fact, everything we've ever seen shows that it operates through natural processes. So even if there is a God out there, it appears that he operates through purely natural processes because we've never seen anything else. So why would we think that, well, that's how it works today, but long time ago, thousands or billions of years ago, he did shit with magic? Well, because they've got an old book that suggests that. And, that old book was written before the age of science, before we knew anything about anything. So that was just people making stuff up. Just people taking a stab at it. People like to have an answer. They want to, it can be uncomfortable to say you don't know, or to realize that there's an elephant in the room. There's like, hey, where did all this shit come from anyway? So if we want to have a religion, if we want to have our deity imposing arbitrary rules on people that we can enforce, we should have a backstory. We have to have, hey, how did he create all this stuff? Well, they just made one up, and you can see that the Judeo-Christian version of that is pretty similar to lots of the other myths you would find permeating through the region at the time. It's pretty much run of the mill, and that's when you look at the Judeo-Christian, the religion Judaism. When you look at it in its infancy, in its earliest stages, you don't really see much that would be radically different from what any of the other tribes in the region would have been believing. I mean, a lot of it seems crazy to us. We've had Pat on before, and he says, no, I mean, most of it was pretty commonly things that they were believed in the region. There's, not much that's completely out of left field. Certainly every faith has their own unique points to it, unique qualities to it. They all have to have something to distinguish themselves. But for the most part, nothing to see here really. It's pretty common, and that just goes to show. If you're ever reading through the Old Testament, you're wondering to yourself like, huh, why does it seem like God, the big G, God of the Bible, Creator God, God of Christianity, the Abrahamic God, why does his morality seem to be pretty much exactly what you would expect out of Bronze Age, Iron Age man? So if Bronze Age, Iron Age man thought something was good and moral, then the God of the universe thinks that's good and moral, like slavery. The people back then, slavery, it was just a thing. It's not a matter of liking it, disliking it. It's just a thing. There's nothing to like or dislike. It's just a feature of society. It is because it is, and nobody really thought anything about it. So of course, yeah, hey, Bible says, hey, have at it. You want to buy slaves from the people around you? Knock yourselves out, because hey, they're doing it to you. So hey, why would we not want to participate in this? In the fun of chattel slavery? But yeah, it's being someone who is a moral relativist. I have to look at that from a different lens than I would look at things happening today. But it kind of does go against the idea that there is this absolute or even this objective moral standard that things are absolutely right or absolutely wrong based on the interpretation of a particular religious text like the Bible. Anyway, yes.
Woo-hoo.
It's some of our lovely callers.
Woo-hoo. In fact, and so we are about to get, thank you so very much, James W. We are about to get our 3 first callers in on creationism, but
Debate.
they're all people who agree with us, so they're probably just going to get their information out, and then we'll keep. But I will say, and I'm still setting it up, but I had someone reach out to me who has debated me before, brought up some topics, only really, and they were some were semi-religious, most of them were semi-political, which is a weird thing, you may ask. And one of them maybe being LGBTQ, marriage being a pro thing, but the other, which I think he's leaning in towards, is that everyone is religious. And so I'd be taking the claim in the negative that no, everyone is not religious.
That reminds me, Praise, he posted a meme today about basically like how what they did in the New Testament, it seems like they realized, hey, there's no evidence for it, so we're just going to write it into the mythos that we don't even need evidence. It's obvious. You don't even need to present evidence because it's just self-evident to everybody that there is a God.
Exactly. I mean, we should just presuppose it, James. I don't even know how can anything be intelligible, comprehensible? How can you be apprehensible? Oh, wait, no, that's just the officer. The
Judeo-Christian God.
Out the Judeo-Christian God. I don't even understand how people are understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth. But we're going to get other people to understand them for us, because we're going to get Beamsy, the Sinister Porpoise, and Ogre, but we still have no young Earth creationists out there, which means I guess I'm just going to have to keep on sending that StreamYard link into chat right there.
We don't all believe in the same morals.
And so we are going to move it open, however, to the calls. And hopefully we can find eventually a creationist with some really big balls. This is the highbrow, the
Infinite
high
size.
bar humor we have on this channel. Infinite at size, exactly. Well, I mean, if God is everything, you have to, you'd have to concede that God is an infinite schlong, right? At some level, if we're speaking about everything. All right, Beamsy, we are speaking creationism, and you are going to be our first person, as well as going down Sinister and then Ogre. Because you guys and gals agree with us, we hope that you try to keep it to 10 to 20 minutes, but the floor is going to be all yours to say whatever you like, as we are calling us skeptical. Woo! What is up, Beamsy?
Not much. Is this actually working still?
It's working!
I was having issues with it this morning. But I'm actually going to be a bit different and talk about the Celtic belief that I follow to actually give you a bit of an idea of why I have that idea, and it might be a bit of an interesting conversation for you guys.
Hey, knock yourself out.
All for it. Sounds good. Floor is yours, Beamsy.
The aspect of the Celtic beliefs has two fundamental concepts to it. One is where the gods exist, which is what define our understanding of nature. Those beliefs are sort of being abandoned in most of the mainstream aspects, especially within the circle that I run in, because I'm of the Stone Circle. And then there's the aspect of where our individuality and every living thing's individuality has stemmed from. It's not really a idea of the consciousness that you talk about. We don't have a consciousness that's fully formed. It's more of something starts an initial idea of how we actually have an idea of the ability to reflect on things around us. Because you notice that trees have individualities as well as microbes have individualities. It's almost as if there is just that one little thing there that defines the difference between what is actually alive and what is dead.
Sure, I agree that there are traits that we share in common with basically all living beings on Earth. I would not connect that to any form of spirituality. The way I think about it is that there's a difference between alive, dead, and neither of those two categories. There actually is a third, because to be alive, we have all these sorts of different characteristics, like homeostasis and cell repair. We have all these different qualities that a lot of life does, or most of life, if not all, and maybe like viruses at the edge. And then we have life that was
kind of arbitrary, but
yeah, we have this kind of all these sort of things that I hate to say just like consciousness, but emergence of what we would call life, the spreading thing. And then we have the dead matter. We have something that was alive, but now is no longer alive. And then we have an inanimate object. And I'm trying to pick something completely inanimate, but like, something that plastic or something. Someone's going to say, well, that's recycled.
You have a
something. Exactly. Something that was never alive has never been alive. And so we kind of, I guess the long run of that is I see kind of what you're saying, but how do you connect it to, I guess, a God and spirituality and creation?
It's more the aspect of spirituality. There is a mythology that is a creationist within some of the Celtic beliefs. But again, I don't really follow those. It's more of the aspect of a spirituality that's the only thing that I really follow. So I'm not a full Celt, but it's, again, because I have to remain skeptic in a lot of things. It's also why I can accept that there is there could be a scientific reasoning behind it. It's more just my personal experiences that allow me to lean towards that, and also the people that I've experienced and who I was taught by.
Can I ask, did you learn to be a pagan from someone?
Yes.
Interesting. Who did you learn to be a pagan by, if you don't mind me asking?
He only just goes by the name of Tanarash. He's a druid of the Stone Circle, and he lives down in Sydney.
He's an Aussie druid.
Well, I guess my question when I hear that, because I don't know him at all, and so maybe a really cool guy, and I don't want to like say anything because I don't want to like shit on that experience, because you may have learned a lot from him, or maybe you had a lot of good experiences with him, and so what I would then focus it on is you already kind of, I think, have a secular version, but is an atheist pagan? Could that even be a contradiction? Is there any way that
maybe Pat could actually come up with a better explanation of it, because he probably has a better understanding of the history behind it than I do?
Well, what I would say that Pat can definitely do is I feel like a lot of his students sound like you.
Druid.
And so they, I think he probably would have a way easier time communicating specifically. Not that I don't have a bad, well, actually, you could hear me getting a little tongue-tied, because I'm used to people who believe such ridiculous things that I feel like I'm being more careful with my words, because I don't want to ruin anything that you would call spiritual, that maybe I wouldn't call spiritual. I would just call a great human experience. But that just may be a lingo game.
It possibly is, but when it comes down to it, the way I lead my life is that of a skeptic. I still have the aspect of I follow the scientific method. I follow those aspects of reality. It is just that small little thing that bothers me about where everything that is what you could animate it seems to have an interaction with the things around it.
Sure. I agree with everything until like the very end. It almost sounds like, hate to say a deepity, but like, yes, everything does interact depending on like what level. There's chemical reactions going on. There's photons. There's if I'm T-jump, there's quantum fluctuations going on. There's a whole bunch of things, but that's all natural. Everything about that is just, and I would say that the best among the scientific community is just the scientific communicators who are able to take these subjects and describe them in beautiful and elegant ways.
My issue is I don't fully understand it myself, so it's very difficult for me to articulate it very well.
Sure.
It's just something that I'm curious about, and just something that doesn't make sense. It's also stems a lot from my own personal experiences.
Sure. Well, and I have to separate two different boxes, because skeptics, we often, at least when we're talking with people, we go out of our way a little bit to ignore what I would say are feelings and personal experiences. On certain subjects, they're very important. I'll show you, I'll take it home for me. When you're dealing with LGBTQ, when you're dealing with very specifically the trans thing, it's all about feelings. Like the entire thing I am presenting, they are logical reasons for why you should support trans people, but the trans people, I would say, we feel this way. and we're telling you this is our personal experience. Where I would say that is different is that, well, maybe not different towards you, but where I would say when it comes to religion, when it comes to theology and those type of subjects, I am almost being a little bit, we do go out of our way a little bit to say how cold we are being. And so it is kind of like a separation between everything on some level is connected, true, but where is that true? What could we actually verifiably put in a science textbook on that? I guess I'll hand it back over to you. I sound like I'm ranting a little bit, but I just want to always separate out what is beautiful and what is poetic from what people are trying to push. And you are an old Earth, so you're not trying to do, but the young Earth are trying to push, in my opinion, poetic as science.
The other thing is I don't want to push my ideas onto people because my ideas are my own until I can actually understand exactly what is the actual truth behind it. That's why I don't talk about it openly very much until I can actually come to an exact decision on what is actually true and not. It is something that exists outside of our understanding, and we can talk about things on the quanta. We can talk about things on the level of quantum mechanics, and this allows you for the aspect of, yes, chaos theory comes into things, but there are some interactions that just do not make 100% sense because we can explain chemical reactions, we can explain the chaos theory to a higher degree, but there's that just little niggling thing that we might end up coming to a decision on what it really means. But as it stands at the moment, I am happy to explain it in that is the spark and where we come from. But if that's overturned, then I can accept that. That's why it's not a founding belief. And that's, again, why I say it's not a core tenet and why I don't try and push it onto people. It is an interesting discussion to have, though.
I mean, there are certain properties that come across as extremely very arbitrary. Like, why would this be like, or aspects of the universe? Why would this, property be exactly this? It just seems kind of arbitrary. There are kind of unusual quirks that come about when you look at various properties of the universe. Things that seem to repeat sometimes that you might not. Why does that have to repeat? And you can speculate about why.
Well, I see many.
I think we just have so much more to learn.
What's it called? I'm losing. Someone please tell me when the picture, the fact that there's many drawings that have great symmetry, they fall on this line, and just there's lots of patterns that we're going to find in nature. A lot of them just have to do with our own pattern-seeking brains.
Well, I mean, if it's a mathematical thing, it's just a property. Yeah.
The Fibonacci was a couple of weeks ago. That's where they had his, I think it was his 300th anniversary of his discovery.
Woo-hoo. And I just want to say, Beamsy, we're going to give you like 5 more minutes because you've been an in-between. We've actually enjoyed this. I am going to say, Sinister, unfortunately, stick around with us because I see P-Town has joined backstage. And then Alpha Centaurian, forgive me to tell me if you are atheist, theist, how much of one of those, the Rorschach's image. What is up, Brian Stevens? What is up, everybody? Catholic. There we go. Okay, so we'll go P-Town, Alpha Centauran. But don't worry, Sinister. Just think about all the points that you're collecting. We're about to get.
Some,
that's right. And also, we had to tuck Ogre in. He's like, it's getting late. but we're sending love to Ogre. But Beamsy, just a few more minutes if you'd like to.
Yeah, but as Pat just pointed out, yeah, I agree with his idea that I'm an agnostic deist. It's mostly about my own personal experience, and I'm going to step out now so that way you can actually bring in someone who's more on cue of what you would like to go.
Hey, we love having you on,
Thanks,
Beamsy,
Beamsy,
so
yeah.
just thank you for coming on.
I was just expressing what goes through my own head, and that's why it was sort of a bit jumbled, and it doesn't make full sense because, again, it's a personal experience that I haven't made a full decision on.
We all have things that we sometimes think that we can't even make sense of ourselves.
Well, I'll also say that no one will get hustled here for coming on and ranting. That is our theme here.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Sending love,
Thanks,
Beamsy. And all right, we are going to get P-Town. We're going to get our keep on going down the list. We're bringing up P-Town. Thank you so very much, Beamsy. Woo-hoo. What is up, P-Town? It is lovely to have you on. It was lovely to have you on at Randolph Stream. We love having you every fortnight there. And, yeah, we are calling us skeptical on creationism. Are you maybe an atheist yet? No? Anything? No?
No, I'm not there.
It was worth
There
it.
yet.
What's up, P-Town? We're talking creationism.
Hey.
What's on your mind?
Well, I put a message in there. You can put the bring the Catholic guy up first if you want. Is he new?
Well, I think he has been on here. I just suck at memory, I'm pretty sure. But I'm also sure that wasn't a sentence. But it conveyed the message. So I'll tell you what I do. Because we like to give the people who disagree with us as much time as possible, we're going to switch him up because it sounds like you're going to stick around for popcorn, and that's really what I'm looking for. So stick around. That sounds good,
Okay.
P-Town. Stick around. We'll get Alpha
Thanks, P-Town.
Centaurian up and sending love to you.
All right.
All right, we're calling us skeptical on creationism, and Alpha Centaurian is coming on. What is up, Alpha Centaurian?
Hey
It
there.
is
Welcome.
lovely to have you. We are calling us skeptical on creationism. What are your thoughts?
All right, so I have two thoughts, actually. Actually, two questions for you.
Oh, my.
Can you hear me? Hear me good?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Good.
so the first
Yes,
question,
2,000 jokes.
the first question that I had is actually something that I heard on a Catholic podcast. Catholics do believe in old Earth creationism, but they were explaining. It's a Thomistic podcast, so it's like deep religion. But they were explaining the process to go from inanimate life, scientifically, to go to, I guess, biological process. And I did not quite understand what that was. I don't exactly get that leap from. I get creation, I get science. I don't get the leap from inanimate to biology.
And I'll give you the science, and then I'll try to ride between a steel man and a straw man, straw man and a steel man. I'll ride between them.
Read that.
So exactly. So a lot of misconceptions to people think that evolution is about the start of life. But evolution, as far as James and I can tell, we're just telling what the scientists, in my opinion, are saying, is that evolution is it is both a theory, a framework of facts, and at this point, it is a fact. It is a fact we use in other theories, and so it is the notion that genes mutate. Oftentimes randomly, sometimes not, but the genes mutate, and that there is a selector. Often the environment is the selector. Sometimes it's sex. Sometimes there's a whole range of other things. But these mutations are being acted upon by a selector. That is a fact. It will always happen. It has happened since life was here and will happen until the very life form dies, because that is just what happens when life happens.
Like a force
we're going
of
to
nature.
put that exactly, and we're going to put that bucket over here. That is evolution. Life arising from inanimate, not dead. We were just talking about 3 buckets. There's life, there is death, the dead flesh or whatever, and then there is none of those categories. There is literally an inanimate, where your soda can is made out of. Only this case, it was a chemical process, is called abiogenesis, and that process arose. The joke that we often get from young Earth creationists is that, it is just rock soup, but that is actually their politically correct way of trying to say that it is a chemical reaction coming from carbon, coming from hypothermal vents, which are pouring energy into sources. And so it's not just random or chance. The environment is highly motivated for life to arise in the circumstances by which is on Terra, the place we call Earth.
So what the priest and what the scientists were talking about, the scientist is I guess she's also a nun, but she's specifically a scientist.
I'll take it. I've heard that it's not a miracle in Catholicism. I've heard things like that before.
So she was trying to explain to this group of monks how the process worked and the leap, how we can't prove the actual what that step was, but we can reproduce the process over and over again by creating the environment that you would need to have life begin.
Like the Miller-Urey experiments.
Yeah. So now here's my problem. Here's my issue. Here's why I'm on here. Here's why I came on.
The spice is real, and he who controls the spice controls the universe.
You got it. She's stuck.
I think I have a copy of Dune somewhere back there. So I am right now engaged in an argument with a smaller channel than mine. Not that mine's big, and I
just want you to know, I hate to interrupt you, but I do want to emphasize it's not about the size of your channel. It is how you use it.
Well, these are Reformed Calvinists, okay? And so they're arguing that I'm not a true Christian because I accept biology and I accept evolution. But they kind of stumped me with a question that I don't have a good response to. Okay. Which is, and this is kind of, there's a guy called Origen who looks at the Bible in a spiritual way. Right. And he just kind of he goes oh no, none of this is literal. Let's look at what this actually means. And he's actually the first Christian theologian. So this is established stuff. But he ends up being a heretic at the very end of his life. But they're using that against my point of view and saying, how can you accept pure biology or pure genealogy and deny, and this is their argument, I'm not making fun of them, that people live for 900 years or that someone can live for 250 years, that it's the degradation of life from the beginning that proves evolution wrong. I have no idea what to do with that. I have no idea how to even respond to that. And as someone who wants to say the Bible's true, I'm nowhere near where you're at. I can't argue that people really lived for 800 years. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck with the only answers I can give are outside of the Bible. I can't give an in-Bible answer because they want to say it's 100% literal. I'm stuck. I have no way to respond to them that doesn't make me sound, no offense, like an atheist. So I don't know what to do with this conversation.
Well, I guess I'd parse that a few ways. The first is, we'll start with the most pat on the back. Not a bad thing to sound like an atheist, to sound like the skeptic. I will also, to go when I listen to, not to say I always agree with them, but when I listen to David Wood in a Muslim debate, It could be him, or it could be an atheist, because he's just using our talking points against Islam anyway. And so that's not always a terrible thing. In fact, a lot of times they will just interchangeably use atheist and scientist. As much as I wish we could pat ourselves on the back that much, that's not true. As much as you know, as much as you're, yes, as much as you, your nun teacher could explain to you. And so the way that I would then come back to it like that is that, yes, you are using science, you're not using the Bible, but when, they do it on two different levels. They're trying to attack you on a biblical standpoint. But when they talk with us, when they talk about the flood, even maybe to you, they're trying to talk science. They often try and come on, I hate to say, the scientific real ground. And so if they want to say, what does it say in the Bible? Well, then you can say, well, yes, it does say 900 years, but I've heard many metaphorical theists and even Christians explain poetically or maybe even scientifically how you get there. But when they're talking about the flood, they are not trying to convince, as far as I could tell. They're trying to come in with science. They come in with, well, the bones were actually like this. Well, don't you want to talk about genetics? If we're talking about evolution and creation, if they want to talk about genetics, doesn't that sound a little bit, I don't know, science-y?
If the book itself that you're reading, because remember, it's 70 some books. If this specific book has signs that says, hey, we're not taking this literal here, like light comes before the sun exists, like, hey, like take the signpost, and they're arguing, and I've heard this from P-Town, I've heard this from Richard Maddox, and I've heard this from these guys, that there's some kind of original perfection that we are all falling away from. I've never even heard this as a Catholic, as someone who was a Taoist, as someone who graduated from college. I never heard this argument until now that I'm 42 years old, and I'm like, I don't know.
Can I butter up normally? And I just want you to know, just forewarning, we crap on all the religions, and we'll probably crap on Catholicism the moment that you leave. But while you're here, and I can butter you up, the thing with Catholicism is that because they are older, and I don't know what it is with the older religions, but the older the religion is, the more that they seem to have gotten bored by the mythology and have leaned into science. You can see this with the Jews, who are just so freaking secular that, you could, to so many, there's rabbis that'll be like, God, you're like, what? And so the older, and so Catholicism, in my view, follows that track record, is that, they have buckets. They have put their hand in the formation in science when they are putting astrologers not only out there, but for things like the formation, how we understand the Big Bang, we have to do with the Catholic priest. Wasn't the only guy, but one of the guys to help move it forward. And so the religion is heavily motivated to be pro-science. And when you come over to when they have left the ship and you have come over to the United States and you get a whole bucket of freedom sauce, well, I mean, there is just a million freaking denominations of Protestantism here, and so evangelicalism, and they are, for whatever reason, have become the most literalist in turn. They're like, this ain't poetry for shit. This is, it says it. If it's said to wipe my tuchus this way on this day, you better do it. And so, and you get that because 3 pews down is the extremely liberal one with holding a Bible and a rainbow flag. And so you are going to get all of that in between here, and so James is going to say, over to you.
Well, the thing I think is that the Catholics, they don't have this sola scriptura doctrine that they have, so they don't get so wrapped up in and hang
Catholics-
on each and every. Catholics don't have the
Catholics,
sola scriptura.
Orthodox, and Jews. We don't do the sola scriptura thing.
Right, so they're fine with looking at other sources of revelation, so they don't have to necessarily hang on each and every syllable of the Bible. You know, I mean, the church, I think, views itself as maybe like we wrote the Bible, we gave you the Bible, we created it. So, you know, because I guess if I was a Catholic, I would say Jesus made Peter the Pope, not he didn't make the Bible the Pope. And then the Catholic Church created the Bible for the people.
There's complicated politics there having to do with the Orthodox Church and a few other Coptic and other. But basically, there's an original handful of churches that would all include each other as being the ones who wrote it, basically.
Right, and so they don't get tied up. Whereas these evangelical Protestants, they that's all they have is the Bible, but yet they all take a different interpretation of it. Whereas, like, even if you just look at like the Catholic, like I think for the longest time, like their people really didn't get into that minutia. That was for the theologians and the priests and the bishops to, you know, debate those intricacies of doctrine and whether.
Right now, it's our
one
apologists who are
metaphorical.
the front line. Right now is our apologists, and our apologists are sometimes saying things that, as a lay Catholic, meaning like a person who's not involved in any of that,
Right.
is just embarrassing because they are sounding more and more like Protestants to try and pull Protestants into the Catholic Church, which makes it sound. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have our own problems. I'm not. That's not what I'm not saying. Like we're perfect. I'm not saying that we're like no. I mean, we got problems. But what I'm saying is that like they're bringing in some of the, like for instance, some of the homophobia. They're bringing that in from the Protestantism. They're bringing some of the young Earth creationism. They're bringing in they're bringing in these things that are not native. Like we have our own problems that are bad, and now we're bringing in Protestant issues that I don't think we need.
I was going to say the things that some of the things you were listing is actually the actual stuff that I like that separates it from, like you were saying. I mean, he's not a liberal, but the latest Catholic Pope has at least been liberalizing. I don't know what other word to use. He's been warm to people that have not always been, which is, I guess, ironic. I get we in the atheist community, once again, take this with love, but there's no quite love like Christian hate. But I mean, the Big Bang, evolution, these were things that I kind of associate with a Catholic Christian kind of view.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never ran into, well, not that there aren't any, but I've never ran into a Catholic flat earther, but you see them all over the Protestantism. Like, they have really kind of taking over.
We have Tyler Marshall. We have outspoken Catholics who are against the Pope. Somehow they're still Catholic. I don't understand.
Because the super conservative.
Yeah, they're these super conservative types, and they're bringing in some of the hatred that we have been immune to for a very long time. And it makes it very complicated because we have very nuanced views. It's not like and just to be fair to Amy, it's not like we discount the Bible. We still believe the Bible is 100% true. We still follow all the controversial things that any atheist or any secular person would have a problem with. We just don't follow it in the same way. We don't use it as a hammer. We use it as a coaxing, like, hey, come on, be Catholic. Come on, do this thing. Do this.
Well,
here's a rosary.
There's also, and
something will happen.
Maybe you'll completely disagree with this. I think Beamsy, this is how but for a lot of people, there are two buckets. There is the religious bucket, there is, I believe, my personal beliefs, not only what I do on Sunday, but what I actually believe. This is what makes me what I do to be a good person. This is what I think is going to happen when I die. Those sort of beliefs. And then there are people, and then you have over here, it is not even just evolution, the Big Bang, but it is gravity, it is vaccines, it is, in my opinion, just science. And they are two different buckets. And one can inform the other. Maybe one, hopefully, I think actually it makes you a better theist, hopefully, to be informed by science. But, and this is, I guess, my biggest jab I'll give. Well, I give so many jabs at the young earth and the flat earthers. But when you just mix it, when like this is what they are asking you. Literally, they want you to say, no. Listen, God could make a 900-year-old man. And, that is as a biological reality as someone who lives to 100. There was a guy 600 years old. And this is why I think this is why I think the metaphorical, at least, has a sanity clarity, because you can interpret it. You could say that was poetry. That was a different way that we interpret it. They were just using that as emphasis for a really old guy, an old man of his tribe.
What would say, yeah.
And so I guess when they are offering the literal interpretation, I would say it's like, you could say there's like this purity thing. Yes, the word, it says it. And so I'm going to basically throw out everything that I know as science. And so I can make that fit. Or I could have my fulfilling religious beliefs and understand. So I would say it's not even like disagree with science, because if they're telling you that they have the science, then don't let them come with the Bible. If it's all the Bible, then just be the Bible, okay? But right, because if they're telling you it's the Bible plus I know scientifically how this happened and this happened and this happened, well, then they are on our wheelhouse. They are on science.
They tried to argue, and this is bizarre to me, so I might get it slightly wrong. Maybe the next guest will get it right. But they tried to argue that the human genetic code is so perfect that it has the ability to live 1,000 years or whatever. And I was like, yeah. So I was totally.
I have my codon chart always ready. Always ready.
So I just
come on, little PP, make her day.
I was like, I did not know how to respond to that at all. I was completely shocked. I was like, I don't know what to say. No, and I was just like, okay, no, never mind. So yeah, so that's
I can understand. I would say both of the ends of the spectrum are very daunting when you first come across them. And those two, what I would say, the Sith levels are a young Earth creationist, where they get points to me because they're being so brash and open. Like you are saying a 900 person did exist. But then I think it's just silly. And then there's the presuppositionalists who will not defend their claims at all, and then they just come off like assholes. So those are the two Sith apologetics that no one should do. No Christian, just throw them out.
Let me finish on this note, so that way someone else can come in. But so like I'm married to an atheist. Okay, my wife's a professor. I don't have any problem with that. No atheist has ever convinced me to become an atheist. I've never doubted my faith in that way. I've always believed in God. I may not have always been a Catholic, but I was born Catholic. I became Catholic again. This stuff, this kind of like hold to ultra literalism, if I wasn't already strong in my faith, would break me from my faith very easily, because I could not hold reality as I know it with anything.
So you're saying, if I may say so, if you didn't have an intellectual, a metaphorical, a little bit of a barrier, whatever you want to say, from this, if you had to choose the dichotomy, it sounds like it'd break you, because you can't go to 900-year-old person, because that's just silly.
Yeah, like I got the Bhagavad Gita over here. I'm not holding that up as God's word. I love the book. I got like 2 copies of it, but I'm not bound to it. If you bounded me to the analogies in the Bible and to the parables as absolutes, you could break my faith by having to hold my feet to the fire in that way.
I 100% understand.
Yeah,
I think that the literal interpret. So I'll give you the best thing that I think literalism has is that if you want to be like a lorist, if you want to be like it says on volume 3 of The Lord of the Rings in chapter 7 that Elrond, but when you have to, like you say, map it onto physical reality, I think that it ruins everything about any good side that the religion has. Like, it makes, I'll give you an example of this that I got from, I would say, maybe Pat was talking about it, and I know that do you know Dr. Josh Sherman?
Yeah.
Or Browan?
I haven't talked to him, but he's been on another podcast that I go on to a lot.
He has a wonderful book I have behind me, The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament. One of the things he talks about...
I'm thinking of someone else. Sorry. I was thinking about the guy who made a comment earlier, Discover, whatever.
Pat. So Pat is in there. So he is one of them. First of all, I just want to send love out to Bree. What's up, girl? And Pat was saying, "Buddy Christ, the 2 Catholic WoW campaign." Sending love to Pat. And what Pat and I think what Dr. Josh often say is that atheists often don't do. We don't do a straw man interpretation of Noah, but we really hit hard on Noah because in the atheist viewpoint, it is an absolute genocide. I mean, my joke is if you have to count, your deaths by the planet full, you're not the good guy. Now, Dr. Josh, Pat, some of these will say, now listen, atheists. The Jewish people, the people of the time, the oral traditionists and the storytellers, they weren't trying to get you to think of they weren't actually thinking that. They were just like, it is a mythological story. We got to clear everyone out. This is just how we're doing it. So if you want to get the meaning of the story, you just got to kind of go with this so we can understand redemption and all this kind of stuff. Now, that kind of stuff only possible, only if it is not literal. Because the moment we take it literal, it is a single guy and everyone else dying.
So the way that I have when I'm arguing with atheists instead of agreeing like we are.
Sure,
when I'm arguing,
and I know you're kind of like in between now, and I enjoy it actually.
And so I use the previous Pope Benedict's argument, which is one that I like, which is that when an area you're at floods and you look out, the whole world is flooded from your perspective. So
I can understand that interpretation.
So when you're telling the story and then the story gets passed on orally before it gets written down, you're now into, hey, the whole world flooded when you're telling the story because the story's going to stick. This is it's the original perspective, and B, it's a way for the audience to kind of like,
Yeah. Well, it is. I'm trying to think of a proper analogy, like, it's like in a movie when the good guy is just killing random guys. But like, if it were real, like each one of those guys would have a funeral, and he'd have to pay
Like
lawyers'
Steven
fees
Seagal
and
is just going through and killing people left and right.
Yes, exactly. Like John Wick. Like John Wick kills 1 million people just because someone killed his dog, and you agree with him because dog and his cat, depending on which movie, and you agree. And
I know I said I was going to be done, but I got one more question for you. Maybe you can help me out with this one as well.
Sure.
Okay? All right, and then I'll be done. I'm sure of it.
And hey, you're good. Our whole thing is we grant you're hitting. You're basically in that sweet spot. So you have, if you want, another 10 minutes of fun and juice, but all yours. What's on your mind?
So obviously, I believe that there's genres in the books. I believe there's tropes and there's ways to understand it, all that kind of good stuff. But for these people, every book was literal. Every single book, even the books that the Jewish culture themselves says, hey, this was a comedy written 100 years after the events, and they even purposely put the wrong emperor, they put the wrong king, and like it's supposed to be...
Did he have clothes?
No, I don't know. But they're like, and then the Protestant is taking this like, no, this historically happened.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's, to me, I don't know how do I get them to, like, I want to tell them, hey, the Old Testament, because I believe the Old Testament is true, but it's polemic and it's using other sources, it's using other historical narratives. So they acknowledge this in one of their arguments against me. They acknowledge in their video that yes, there are other sources, but they use those other sources to prove that the Bible was the correct version, and somehow the Bible's older than all the religions that predated Christianity and Judaism. And I'm like, mathematically, I'm like, how can this be?
I'll give you two ways. I'll give you 2 ways that I think moving forward can make you stronger in both, all around. Okay, and that is. Become more well-versed. Well, I was going to say more well-versed. I'll start at this. In theology, number 1, I'll start with the hard poison, is that there is a saying in the atheist community, is that no one reads the Bible more than an atheist. And there is a benefit to actually reading the book, to actually going into these passages, because I have found either A, they are putting way more effort. They like a politician. They're like, do you see how the word is in here? You're like, no, I think this is just picked a random thing.
Like hundreds of pages of commentary telling you all what it means.
Exactly. Or it doesn't say what they actually said. And so you have to, if you don't read it, or if you have no context of it, it's almost like their bullshit just goes over and you can't. And so in a weird kind of way, I know it sounds weird for an atheist to suggest reading the Bible, but it is a good way of knowing these stories and knowing how to call out some of their nonsense, just like you said, also knowing the history of it, how other cultures, how they accept it, and so becoming a better theologian, ironically enough. And then the other bucket is just you don't have to become an expert in the field, but knowing the weird thing about being an atheist is it puts a weird pressure on us that I think you're dealing with, is that a lot of theists, a lot of creationists, and a lot of intern apologists come to us with the hardest questions that life has to offer, and they put it on our doorstep, and they go. And like, if you do not have answers for them, it is seen as an absolute weakness. And so it forces a lot of lay people to learn about the Big Bang, about how the separation of the diversity of life, about I know how planets and stars form because there is no model in the young Earth way. It is God did it. And if you ask a young Earth creationist, like, how do stars come about and how will they continue to come about? Good luck.
So to absolutely agree with you, but on the atheist side of things, because I usually talk to atheists,
Sure.
is that I've read the Bible 8 times, all the way front and back. I'm on the 8th time right now, and I get questions on things that I've never had 2 questions about. So it's always the Trinity and it's always free will. I don't care about either of those things. I never
Talk
have.
off a lot of Calvinists.
And so now I've now bought these $60, $100 academic translations of Trinitarianism, of the original formulas, not because I want to read them, because I'm getting asked this so many times for the last 4 years that I've been on YouTube that I'm like, I got to find the answer. I got to just be able to give something.
No, I think this is from Christians, is what he's saying. Or are you saying atheists?
It's atheists mostly. Atheists.
Oh, it's atheist on free will?
Oh,
interesting.
On free will and on
free will is
on
a
the
great
Trinity.
attack against
And on Trinity.
religion. I use it all the time.
Well, I find that, in my opinion, what motivates an atheist and what motivates a theist are very different. I don't know why I hate to say, as someone who loves feelings, I should really be, but like the things that motivate theists, in my opinion, are like they're heart knockers, like dealing with hell.
You can find new ways to motivate.
Dealing with heartstrings. I'm trying to think of another example. Just the problem of morality, of hell, of just when it's dealing with drownings and stuff like that. Pascal's wager. Most of these arguments are not enticing to atheists. And
They're
however, I
enticing to
find them
Christians,
very
though.
enticing. They're not? You don't
They're
think?
not enticing Christians. These are apologists. They're apologists who are apologizing to each other. They're
you
so
have a point.
boring.
You have a point that there is a difference also between what I think what most people, when they go into church, if you were to ask why they believe in Jesus, it's because they'd say like, well, Jesus is just in my life every day. And like, that is not the answer you get from an apologist.
So I have several friends that I've brought into the Catholic Church, and none of it is apologetic word tracks. They had a question about something in the Bible. I said, hey, let's open it up. They asked me about something controversial. I didn't condemn them. I didn't damn them. I didn't do any of that. I said, hey, that is kind of messed up. Let's see what it says. And then they're like, hey, you were kind of cool about that. Where do you go to church? I'm like, I go to church over here. And they're like, I'll go check it out. That's it.
Well,
that's like, just be nice to people. Like,
I will say, and we're counter apologists. We want people to leave religion. However, that being said, I do think you win. Doesn't matter what group. I think you win more people over with honey than vinegar. I just think that it surprises me sometimes that of the vitriol. I think the only way that it works, I mean, you have to, I guess, be looking for other vitriolic people. I mean, there is a segment out there of reactionary people that are looking for a vehicle to hate, and that is the method that they get it. It's just wouldn't be exactly the Jesus message I'd be selling.
What I don't like is and there's an apologist on my side who's doing this currently, and it disgusts me, honestly. He's using niceness as a weapon for homophobia and it's like, I'm like, dude, come on, like what are you doing?
The way they frame it is they're like, well, it's a sin, so we're being nice to be dicks to them. It's like, yeah, no, I think you're just being a dick.
Yeah, because like there are there are established Catholic bishops and priests who take on these subjects directly, and they do the same condemnation without being an asshole, without excluding people from the church. They're like, look, hey, this is what the Bible says. If you're going to be with us, you got to follow the rule. If you're not going to be with us, congratulations, we still love you.
Congratulations.
Easy.
But on that note, I do have to ask you, Alpha Centaurian. We have been calling us skeptical, and we have been talking about creationism. Mm-hmm. The floor is yours. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yes. I am a creationist. I do believe God created everything. But I also believe in evolution and the Big Bang. Does that mean that I believe that God guided everything? I believe that he's continually creating everything. That's where I'm going to end on that. And it was a pleasure talking with you.
It was a pleasure talking to you, Alpha Centaurian.
Well, like me, from a Protestant background, I think they didn't really teach us in the church, like in Protestant churches, like why can't they just basically like, oh, Catholics, they believe all these crazy things. They worship Mary. They do all these crazy. And I remember getting a little bit older and actually looking into like the nuance of it all. And you actually come away with, okay, I mean, it's different, but they do have reasons for why they have some of these very unique doctrines that are very, very different from what you're going to get at a Protestant church. But I think most of them, they just have never really read up the other side. They've really never gone too deep into it. So when you do that, then you actually, it's an enlightening experience just to be able to understand what your opponent, what the other side thinks about things.
When I started debating atheists, I really wanted to debate someone from a Catholic country, so that way I could like argue against, like, because there's atheists in Catholic countries. There's atheists who have reasons against my version of Christianity.
Right.
I've been wanting to have that argument for like 5 years. I can't find it. It's always against the young Earth creationists and the Protestants. I'm like, guys, come on, someone has to hate my side. Like, I want to have this conversation.
We could do that sometime. We could take on a liberal metaphorical Christianity.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. I'd be down for it, but I gotta go because I know there's more people going. So
yes, have a fantastic night, Alpha Centaurian.
We'll set that up.
And I'm actually gonna.
We could talk hell. There's a lot of things we can talk about.
Actually, hold on 1 second, because I'm going to hand it off to you. Actually, again, I am going to be right back for one more second, and then we're bringing on P-Town. So I'm cutting you off just to let you talk. So James, talk for a second, and then we're going to bring on our young Earth creationist friend.
Well, yeah, because like you were saying, usually what we work against is the more evangelical, the more conservative versions of Christianity, but we can deal with the liberal, the metaphorical. We can deal with those just the same. They're just as easy to unravel as the other ones. We just don't get attacked so often from that side, but it still can be. It still can be fun. I don't know if you guys were here with us at the beginning. I have a debate coming up on the 11th of January with Praise. I Am That I Am on the morality of biblical slavery. Specifically, his claim is going to be that biblical slavery is morally good. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been trying to get that set up for a couple months now, so it'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, did James get sent to hell? That does happen. Sometimes I actually have Gilbert and myself and James. We share a apartment within hell. Oh, and he's
You guys
back.
lose me? I'm here. I'm here. Oh, I'm back. Anyway, yeah. So I've been trying to get that debate going for a couple months now, but it's finally scheduled. It's going to be a lot of fun. See about setting up an after show. See if we can have that on a nice channel. Yeah. My safe word. I already forgot it, Mainsley. I definitely forgot it. But yeah, we'll get P-Town in a little bit. I see Disciple Day back there. Good to see him. And yeah, tomorrow we've got Sunday, Miami Dolphins playing San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. Should be a good game. They're both good teams, so I'm going to look forward to watching that tomorrow. And yes. Hey, Michael Smith, good to see you. Let's see. If we truly did evolve, and we are complex systems that fought our way to exist in a certain vibration of this planet, then wouldn't you want to preserve it? Yeah. Makes sense, because we are intelligently designed, not intelligently designed. We are haphazardly designed to survive on this planet in its current configuration, and changing that would make it harder for us to survive.
Hey.
And the return of Mr. Amy Newman. She's back. He's back.
Mr. Amy Newman.
The old geezer. 40-something-year-old geezer.
I know. Honestly, I don't know what is up with these ancient 40-year-olds.
Old boy raper. You old geezer. You want to rape the boys.
Well, I mean, I just want to inject all children with estrogen. At least I'm fairly sure that is as early as possible in the pods. It has to be in the pods, or else I'm not sure how else we're going to make the Matrix happen.
Oh, well, the pods with the pornography, the Marvel movie.
Yes.
To make us forget about
my
video games and all the stuff to make us forget about Allah from our Muslim apologist friend who debated Mr. Aaron Ra and got put in his place.
Oh, wow. Yo, I also have to say this.
Yeah,
I just have to, I know, bring P-Town on, because I have not been hearing much from KGV except for, like, little alien stuff here and there, but like one of the most thing, and now okay, does everyone see the armchair? Hold on. Because before I do armchair psychology, you at least have to see the armchair. But like, she's like, Mr. Amy Newman, did you know there were many famous people who saw our debate? I'm like, duh. I mean, come on, of course. She's like, that's right. And of course, Kanye West is watching our debate. And insert. I'm like, oh, of course.
Kanye is watching your debate.
Listen, I feel like he had it up on widescreen. That is exactly what he was doing.
Mr. Yee, Kanye West watching
it. But yes, enough about former billionaires.
From the padded room.
And there's not a conspiracy. She did not. Just everything. Like.
Everything.
We have gotten to the point where Alex Jones is like, you know what? I think I'm gonna tap out on this one. That's
Hold
why
my beer, Alex.
This is how we know this is the weird timeline that we're in. Because Alex Jones is even like, no,
you're.
we fight the Nazis. That's right, we're American. And we fight the Nazis. And someone with a random
not
bag
gay.
over their head.
They're not fucking gay.
Not
They're
fucking gay.
heterosexual frogs.
Except for my browser history. But yes, enough irreverence. Let's bring on P-Town Disciple Day. And like I said, Sinister is still gathering wisdom from all the creationists. That's exactly what
Athena over there keeping her company.
What's up, Slicey Slicer? I'm still waiting for you to come to Chicago. Would love to hold your hand if you're into that. Hey, as long as you're holding Rachel and I's hand, I'm sure that won't be. But we are going to get P-Town in. He's been nicely waiting. I think Disciple Day had to... actually, he said the feed crashed. Might have just crashed. Sending love. Let's bring on P-Town. Disciple Day is awesome, too. So sending love if you're out there and listening. We are calling us skeptical on creationism.
Maybe Big Bad Mama. Maybe he will.
Oh, my.
Hey,
What
atheists.
is up, P-Town?
Can you guys hear me okay?
We
We hear
can.
you. Yeah, we heard you, sir.
Well, good to see you again.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been an eventful week.
Busy week?
Not really, just emotionally draining, I guess. Yeah. Stuff going on in life. Life's not perfect. Not always easy. But anyway, well, basically, what have I been calling in on these streams for, I think, maybe 7 weeks now? And the reason why I do it, honestly, is because I genuinely believe what I believe is the truth. I mean, believe is not even the right word. I am very confident in what I believe is the truth. And ultimately, hopefully, I was an atheist too. I know I've said that. Some people accuse me of it not being true, but you can go look at my speeches in high school. I was vocal. I didn't like religion. I mean, I've made that transition. And I believe that, there's things like the Big Bang and evolution, these things are really dangerous. Yeah, earlier I was listening to Gur's stream, and his path. He had a completely different background than me, but he was a young Earth creationist in a young Earth home. He was homeschooled. And then he became an old Earth creationist, right? Then he became a theistic evolutionist. And then he wanted to test God and say, hey, I'm going to try this hamburger because he's allergic to meat. I'm going to try this hamburger and I'm going to pray, to you, Jesus, and he got really sick from it. This was his path. I think that there is an adversary out there. You can see it portrayed through media. You can see it in the scientific classroom. It's something very powerful and cunning. And I believe it's a lie. I believe that evolution and the Big Bang are a bigger fable than the Garden of Eden and Noah's flood. I think that you could, even if they're not fables, if you don't want to use that word.
Hey, I like it when anyone attacks fables.
Right.
But
let me, it's kind of nice to actually talk, even though I don't have anything scheduled. But I've been calling in for 7 months. I haven't actually had a rant, per se. Going back to what Beamsy's seeing. God says when it comes to creation, Creator God, we are without an excuse. That it's clearly seen by the things that He's made, and sometimes seeing these things, even though they're clear. They're subtle, even though they're big. Even though they're right in front of us, we know they're there. And one of the things he touched upon was Fibonacci sequence, or I guess you can call it the golden ratio. When I was an atheist, it was one of the first things I looked at, on one of the documentaries. I was like, I never noticed this before. You have leaves all the way to spiral galaxies, all representing this ratio, and they call it the God ratio, whatever. But there is this something out there that we see, this relationship between material things, either the specific sequence between them or how they rely on each other. And when I say rely on each other, I mean that in various different ways, whether relying on their existence or they rely on each other to have a particular mechanism, or they have different purposes, but both of those purposes require each other to exist. There's a lot of different things that you can look at when you have an eye and you're searching for God. For some reason, God wants you to search for him. He wants you to ask him questions. And these two questions, these things that in this atheist community, you're asking these questions, and that's great. I think you just got to ask God. I don't know why he did it that way, and I don't like sounding like I'm accusing that people haven't.
No,
but it requires it. It's kind of like my daughter. She loves hide and go seek. Like God, for some reason, God wants us to be little children, in that sense. To put away our predispositions and the things that we think that we already know, and to not affirm to these hierarchies of science where we really don't know what these scientists have actually looked at and actually used to contrive these stories. Because every time, even though I don't have all the answers, I call in because I'll try to give an answer. But every time I do dig deep into this intellectual stuff, I come to find out I actually fall in. It's a trap and it's a lie. It's not fully true. Ultimately, it's just a story that was made by man. And I think that
talking about religion or science there?
Talking about science, talking about things like evolution, abiogenesis, or the Big Bang. When you look at it from my perspective now as a former atheist, that really pisses me off that I was lied to then. It pisses me off more that Christians couldn't answer those questions.
You were lied to about...
I can get to that in a second. Let me see if I can.
Okay. Well, can you actually pause? Are you about? Did you say sum it up? Actually, you know what? Hold on. Wait to sum it up because that'll bring us back on topic. Just give me 1 second, P-Town. I just want to actually send a whole bunch of love. Holy moly! Sending so much Disciple Day with a $20 super chat. Let's chat another time. Evangelical skeptic, flood. Hell, creation, free will. Sounds like debate topics we should have on here. Fun and simple stuff. Of course, the easy ones. But for now, cash. In fact, have a great show. If you are on for another hour, I might be back. Ooh, we'll see how spicy. Different perspective than P-Town. See, and we're getting all these different theistic perspectives. Thank you so very much, Disciple Day, for the love. We're sending so much love right back. I know you're part of the skeptic and ranting community.
Thank you so much.
And all right, P-Town, you were about to summarize your position, which is a great way to get us right back on track.
Well, I don't know exactly where I was at, but...
Oh, I could tell you.
One of the struggles I deal with Alpha Centurion, hopefully he's still listening or he'll listen to this. He knows that him and I are going to butt heads, even though we're still brothers in Christ. This enemy is so powerful that I look at what's happened to the Catholic Church. There's so many little instances that is completely against what Jesus taught. I mean, it's almost offensive how it's against what Jesus taught. It's like, it's almost like trying to say that this world that we live in, this universe was made without God. That's how offensive Catholicism, even though I love a lot of Catholics, but the whole idea of that system, I mean, and then to try and incorporate into scripture, they'll even go as far as going to abiogenesis, which is ridiculous. But evolution, the Big Bang and you're going to try and put that into scripture. I get that it's comforting and that it's popular and you think you're bringing more people into it, but that's not a firm ground to hold on to. I try to take the Bible literally because I believe that's the way it's supposed to be taken. And I believe it can stand the test of time. It doesn't need to be changed.
Supposed to be taken that way, but
I think it leans towards being literally. Obviously, there's allegories. Jesus used, there's allegories, similitudes, whatever, types. Jesus preached in parables because there is a mystic aspect of it, a mystery to be revealed. And in fact, once you dive into it, it's quite beautiful and astounding. And I couldn't have think of a better story than that of Jesus, the Son of God, the Son of Man, the Son of God, God Himself in the flesh, come to pay a price for our sins, so that we
the new
can
Black
have
Panther?
eternal life. It's simple,
oh,
but it's beautiful.
I thought you were going to tell the story about Jesus and the fig tree, the greatest story. From the fig tree from Mark.
Well, okay. I want to ask, and I know that we both tease but take serious at the same time. So, like, can I start off by asking, have you ever heard of the phrase "one man's terrorist
What is this
another
POE
man's"?
people are saying? I don't know.
Oh,
A
they
Poe?
think you're.
So
they're
a Poe
questioning your
is
sincerity.
someone that has. It is hard to tell whether a Poe's beliefs are real because it's just like on the. You can't tell. Are they trolling?
Poser.
Are they rolling?
So it's another.
Are you just an atheist pretending to be a Christian? So you
Yes, if you were an atheist pretending to be a Christian, you would be a Poe. But we don't. I think you're a real person. Yeah, P-Town is from Iwe Dawa. Well, I've
Sorry
seen
to cut you
P-Town.
off.
No. You're fine.
I also
sending
didn't
love.
know what trolling was or a troll was when I met you.
Well, can I say that there is, if true, there is an innocence to you that is actually kind of adorable.
Yeah.
And so, but Poe is, it's not so a troll. You don't have to be a Poe to be a troll, but a troll, if a troll's goal is trying to get a rise out of you, a Poe's goal is to blur the lines and not make you believe whether this person actually believes what they're saying or not. Are they just saying stuff to be, not avant-garde, contrary? Are they just saying stuff to, yeah. But no, you're probably, a lot of your stuff I hear struggling, I think, is mainstream Christianity. But here, let me start, because there is a lot that I was writing. So, have you ever heard of the phrase, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter?
No, I've never heard that.
Okay, what that phrase basically means is that, when you are the people in power, everyone that opposes you is a terrorist, and they view themselves as the rebels. And if the rebels were to gain power, they would view whoever used to be in power as terrorists. And so I'm applying that to politics, but it applies to when you use the word dangerous. Mm-hmm. It is interesting that you use that word, because I would say, and James, tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but that is the way that we view creationism. That is that word. We think creationism is dangerous, especially of the young earth variety. And we do what we do very specifically to try and counter this type of...
I think we do look at it the same way that he looks at science. We look at the religion as... in the same light. It's dangerous.
Like, we're literally trying to, do this. I hate saying literally after something. We are doing this literally. We are doing this because we think that a lot of these, I'll give you an example. The alleviation of the fear of death causes direct physical harm to society, both personal and public. Once you alleviate things like the fear of death, you best case scenario, you just don't do something. You were gonna forgive Johnny because you guys had a falling out, but you're gonna make up for it in death, and so you have that in your back pocket. I'm gonna make up with Johnny in death. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you fly yourself and people who don't believe with you into a building. And so those are two, in my opinion, ways of alleviating death. And so, and they have horrible consequences within society. Dare I may say, they're even dangerous. And so it's weird that you start with that because it's kind of, we would start with the exact same thing.
We both like each other. We're friends. We talked without it being recorded, right? And you wanted to talk to me about the transgenderism topic, right? Which we haven't
is tonight
addressed.
The night?
If you want it, we can do it, right? And
sure.
Okay. So this is stemming off of this point of how I view it as dangerous. We're on the same page here. We want the best for everyone. Okay.
Mhm.
Like I think genuinely we're good people, even though none of us are truly good. We all have
I agree.
studs,
I
right?
think you sound like a good guy.
I'll be honest with you. I think the worst combination is someone who is an atheist, but also religious. I mean, I couldn't imagine like that. That's like tremendously dangerous. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic here.
Well, no, actually, can you say that sentence again?
I think tremendously is someone who's an atheist, but also religious. Yeah, I mean that's
view someone well that is an atheist that's also religious.
No, I think that's the most dangerous type of person.
The most dangerous is an atheist who is religious.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that too much. We're going to go off.
I can't help it. I don't know if you know this.
I don't fully know what I mean by that.
Oh no. Well, interesting. But I didn't mean that as a got you. But interestingly enough, I think I just am starting to get into a debate on, or prepare for a debate on, is everyone religious? And I'd be the negative. It almost sounds like you would say that there is religious atheists. So maybe there is something for us to talk about there later.
There's a lot of definitions that we'd have to establish to go anywhere with that.
But can I ask, and I'm interested, because help me connect it back, because I always feel like if I'm going to talk about identity politics, the counter apologist feels like we got to eventually tie it to religion for some reason. And so like I'm willing to talk about anything, but like it sounded like that's where your mind went. Not to be too spicy, but I went from dangerous, and then we kind of you brought that up. So.
Let me just bring up this. You go to Romans 1, and I think that I want to have this conversation with Christians, but no one really cares, right? There's a lot of disgust and hate that I don't like seeing within my own community when it comes to I don't know the proper terms, forgive me, if you're gay or transgender. I don't know all of the ins and outs of that, right? But there's this, I don't like how a lot of Christians talk about it. And but at the same time, I also don't like watching Disney with my daughter and having to explain why the woman and the woman are having a baby, or how it's just programming my little daughter to where she's where there's anyway. I don't want to go there. But if you in Romans 1, there's a direct.
Wait, actually, hold on. And I'm willing to talk about Romans 1, but okay, help me out. Okay, you have a little girl, and we're just gonna play a different scenario. But I just want to just give me your feelings, your thoughts, whatever your run by run. She watches Snow White, okay, and she comes to you afterwards, and she's like, "Daddy, Daddy, why did that prince kiss that girl?" What would you tell her?
Oh, I don't think she would ask that question because she knows what a kiss is. You know, it's a symbol of love. You know, I mean,
Okay, you're
what I'm
starting.
refer-
No, I
Well, we
gave
can
a
go-
facial expression, but then you actually started to say stuff. So no, symbol of love.
Hey, I mean, but what I just want to quickly say is that God establishes that there's a direct consequence, that there's a judgment for not believing in him, just as a creator, just the fact that he made the world. We're not even getting into Christianity and believing in
Sure.
Jesus yet.
Well,
He says that
before
there's
you
a
even
direct
say that,
there's a direct judgment,
Yeah.
which is precisely what your current situation is, Amy.
well,
And this is what the Bible says.
if you've ever read the Quran, like that dude, totally triggered by non-believers. Like his number one enemy is non-believers. But you're saying there is a judgment that's going to happen to me because I'm transgender.
Well, here's the difference. This is my interpretation of it.
Okay.
I believe that it's not a judgment just on you. And then maybe this is just what I like to believe, but I also think I can back it up with scripture. I believe it's a judgment on a culture, of a culture where we're going to push for taking God out of science and having to have a natural explanation and to only pursue it in a direction where we're just looking for a natural explanation, not allowing the fact that God made this world as part of the equation. There's a direct judgment on a culture, and that is women with women, men with men, things that happen to be inconvenience. And I care about you, Amy. Could you agree with me that men with men is not convenient and not good naturally? Or would you disagree? Because what I see is a lot of suicides. I see a lot of suicides. I see a lot of diseases. I see a lot less length of life, right? I see a lot more depression.
Can I ask?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to unravel some of those. For example, what were the two credentials? I'm not going to go back to diseases I have wrote, but you gave two. You were like, I think because I believe it's natural, and you can say convenient. Convenient is like. That's an interesting choice.
It's inconvenient. Yeah.
No. I guess it's interesting that you would even ask that. I guess because convenient is like a matter of interpretation, because it was less convenient 10 years ago, but it is like I was about to say super. It's more convenient.
I understand where you're going.
To the point where we get flack now from the Christians who are like, "Oh, you want to get brownie points? Just transition. Just be gay. Just be." It's like, oh, it's that great. It's that easy now. Just be gay. You wanted a new job. Just be gay. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're there. And I'm not giving when I give the sarcasm and everything, it's not just it's not at you, P-Town. It's at the people you were also you were talking. There are some real people out there that really send us hate. They won't even talk with us. And so
I know,
but I'll focus on two things. One, first of all, I think like I have a partner now, and it's very convenient. It is the most we have a great relationship, and you bond. And not only that, I honestly I see it from an almost marriage. Let me get you know what? Let me come to marriage in a second. let me knock down diseases, and then let me be and let me do the happy fun stuff that we should be promoting. The reason why diseases is a silly push is because, first of all, it's an ad hoc explanation. So number one, they knew the reason that God killed everyone in Sodom and Gomorrah is because a bunch of men a few thousand years ago, those specific men thought that it was icky. And they wrote it down, at least from the atheist interpretation. I know you think this is from God, you think this is holy. And so to us, it's just literally just a book that one had this, of the many religious books that had these laws. And so in our secularization and liberalization, we now have a pluralistic society that, I'm moving towards somehow got even back to marriage from diseases. But the real main push here is that not only is it ad hoc, but science kind of defeats all of those things. Number one, most of the gay hate focuses on men, and it focuses on basically how disgusting it is that people go to the bathroom from butts. Like, ignore the fact. Ignore the fact that I'm pretty sure if you were to look on Pornhub, ass is basically, one of the number one categories, gay or straight. But that's then completely defeated with things like condoms. You should be gay men specifically take clean. That's why they're douches and all sorts of enemas and all sorts of stuff. But generally speaking, I find that the people who hate gays or dislike gays focus on this way more than anyone in the LGBT community, because that's just something like you generally should take care of in showering before you get ready for like the club. You don't even know if you're going to have a date or something. You just be clean. The best way to be that in there is just be a clean human being. And that's why, there's queer eye for the straight guy, not the other way around. But I love straight guys and bi, sending love out to everybody. And so if you can defeat it with a condom, if you can defeat God with a condom, it's best just maybe to say this isn't God's punishment, because if we can, it just seems not all powerfulness. And then this will be my last thing, and then I'll hand it back over to you, P-Town. But I'm one of those, as James says, I'm the quintessential moderate. That was definitely not the right pronunciation. But I view myself as a liberal who sometimes holds some conservative values. I say because it's just both of those all these words are just, generally get used differently. But when I mean that, it's the three things. Well, it's the three things that I hear conservatives say that liberals don't talk about. I don't think they're anti-liberal, and so I just include them. But it is family, community, and tradition. Those three things specifically, those tend to align. And so when it comes to gay marriage, if you want to promote families, if you want to promote long-term relationships, if you actually want to promote the betterment of children, and because every time I say having a relationship and adopting a child, they're like, well, it would be better in this. Okay, no. Put that they would be better off, because that often in foster care, it is the gay family or no. And I know some Christian families that would actually say better off in the foster care. But I guess if you're going to be pro-family, if you're going to be anti-hookup culture and all this, insert whatever you want to say, then to me, you got to be consistent and just promote it, not because it's what God wants, it's what's good for society. And actually, let me say one. I know I said one last thing. I don't know. I get, and this will be maybe the spiciest, get a lot of pushback, of reactionary pushback, saying that gay marriage, transgenders in the military, all of this is the degeneracy of our society. Not only do I disagree with that, but I say it is the complete opposite. It is a mark of a healthy society. It is a telltale sign that we are in a golden age, or at least, because we definitely have, every society has problems, but it is just when we look at the past golden ages, it is the pluralistic types of societies that accept everyone, that is open-minded, where science is being promoted, where everyone's religious views can just come as they are. And so what they actually are pushing as the fall is actually the mark of something healthy. I know that's a lot, P-Town. Send in, you know us, though. You have a lot of time to rant as well.
Yeah. Take as much time as you need.
Also, what's up, Jena and Megan?
And again, Amy, you wanted to have this conversation, and
sure.
I'm just, I'm glad that we can just have it and do it sensibly. I am today making the argument that God's judgment for denying the Creator God is evidence also in its own way. And the only way, I mean, there's nothing better than just to read Scripture. Can I read Scripture on your channel for a second?
Oh,
yes, you can.
Out.
Can you actually do me a favor?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just put the chapter in private chat? Because I will, as you're reading it, I will bring it up in the, yeah.
It's...
or you could just say it out loud.
What's
your reading?
So,
what's your reading?
Okay, I'm going to do this, and I usually always use King James, but I'm going to go... For some reason, I have NASB up there. So New American Standard. Romans 1. And, all right, I scrolled up. No, I forgot. I lost it. Okay, Romans 1. Let's go 21.
Here we go.
Through...
is this the men
26.
with men, women with women? Is that where we're going?
Yeah. So, okay. And I'm going to... So... They became futile in their reasonings, and their senseless hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools, and they changed the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of corruptible mankind, of
also,
birds,
just to clarify, you're on Romans chapter 1. We are reading past 21.
I started midway through 21.
Gotcha.
So,
right,
claiming to be wise, they became fools, and they changed the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of corruptible mankind, and of birds, and four-footed animals, and crawling creatures. To me, that's evolution, worshiping the creature more than the Creator. Therefore, God gave them up to a vile impurity in the lust of their hearts.
Can we stop for 1 second?
I'd like to just finish it because it's all in one, and without it being, and then I'll let you go. Is that okay?
You're good. I did talk for a while. Continue.
Okay. Therefore, God gave them up to vile impurity in the lust of their hearts, so that their bodies would be dishonored among them. For they exchanged the truth of God for falsehood, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this reason, this is my point, for this reason, God gave them over to degrading passions. There's a judgment for this particular thing of denying the Creator God and worshiping a creature more than the Creator. He gave them over to degrading passions, for their women exchanged natural relations for that which is contrary to nature, and likewise the men, too, abandoned natural relations with women as well. Notice, abandoned natural relations with women, and burned in their desire toward one another even. And I think you know what I'm referring to, Amy, on that. Males with males committing shameful acts, and receiving in their own persons the due penalty of their error.
I understand what it's saying. I have a hard time. I mean, I just have a hard time believing it.
Right. I get it, and I think that, and again, I think that this is I take it as a judgment upon a culture, not as a particular individual, and I have no reservations either way.
But I also, I don't think that in evolution that we worship creatures. It's just it's the understanding of the diversity of life. And when I ask a young Earth creationist how the diversity of life, they do not have a mechanism. They will say God did it, but that's not a mechanism. That is not explaining how anything came to be.
Well, I believe that talking about God and studying God's word, learning more about Him, is a form of worshiping. And in the same sense, I would have to say that you do worship evolution in that sense, because it's a huge part of your show. It's brought up probably every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes. What? But do you think? Why do you think that? Yeah, my joke is I call evolution a proxy war with creationists. But I mean, I guess I'm giving the punchline away. But why do you think that we talk about evolution?
Well, because we're both talking about the same thing. If you want to break it down to where did we come from? I mean, we're trying to answer that question. It's an important question to answer.
Sure, but we know how animals came about. So the only
careful
reason
to say the word no, because you don't know, Amy.
Yeah,
you don't know how animals came about.
But I would say that we do
I don't
know.
Yeah, I don't know why
the world is round. If a few people out there want to obstinately deny that, I mean, that's up to them.
Well, here, before we go on that topic again, let me just say it. Like here, I think that wieners and butts is not as lustful and is not a good thing for the body. Whether that's with a man with a woman or man with a man, I think that there is a scientific proven thing that's very inconvenient and not healthy.
That is not
condoms
true.
Are not.
I mean, it just seems like people just keep going back to it, like they can't get over it. As inconvenient as it is, it just seems to be something that pervades through time and culture.
I think there's a correlation.
But I don't understand. Hold on, but let me ask something, because I don't think that you're going to find studies that say that like same-sex attractions are dangerous or detrimental. I wanted to bring up sometimes statistics are often narrative driven, and so like there was you brought up things like depression, but there's a statistic where it's often wrongly given, but a decent chunk of transgenders attempt suicide. I often bring up that in the United States, the number one group of suicide victims is straight, older white men. Now, I think there's a variety of reasons for why transgenders could be put in that bucket and why straight, older white men can be put in that bucket.
If you look at the numbers, 41% of those that are transgender commit suicide eventually. 91%.
Not true.
This is just okay. Sorry, I would literally was just told this and sent a study.
The number that's given
today.
is 42%.
I don't believe it.
It was attempt suicide is what's often given. That's actually a little high but that's generally, and it's attempted suicide. So they actually were suffering from depression and they had either some sort of symptom or sign that showed that they attempted or they declared themselves. attempt to actually have a attempt.
How serious it
Well,
was.
when I give out the statistic, 70% of actual suicide victims in the United States, people who kill themselves, unfortunately, are straight older white men. It always they like try to go back around to this attempted thing, and like I think it's bad. I think attempted is terrible. But are you going to tell me that like actual suicides, and it is the vast majority? It's not even close to 50%.
Well, I think it's 91% if you, for the transgenders that actually, get their stuff messed with. And again, this isn't me saying this. This is just some study that someone sent me earlier today, and I didn't really read it.
91% of transgenders get their stuff messed with.
It sounds highly scientific.
100%.
When I say like actual
transgenders
surgery,
get their stuff messed with in this household.
My point is I don't think it's convenient, and I feel for that community in that sense. I think I disagree. I think that if you look at the culture with the Romans and the degradation to that, you can also reference the Bible when it comes to.
Can I ask you?
Sodom and Gomorrah? Let me finish, Amy. Okay,
go. Will you bring up subjects I can't help?
I know.
Go.
Trust me, you'll get your chance. And then if you look at the numbers that we have now from when we started teaching evolution in our schools, and there's a short delay, but I think there's a direct correlation between that and increase in divorces, increase in sexual transmitted diseases, increase in a lot of things. But in particular, look at before we had the treatments that we do for HIV and AIDS. If you were a gay man in the recent near past, your life expectancy became very short, about 18 or 19 years. This go off my memory, and trust me, I wouldn't ever trust that. But I think it's clear that it's not necessarily a good thing, and I think that it's not healthy.
Can I ask? Oh no, you're good. And my passion, it's not there's no hate in my heart towards you. I feel like you have a lot of a web narrative. And I hate to use that word, but I could feel a lot of fear in a lot of what you are saying. And I wish I could alleviate it, because almost all of it is not warranted. I know it feels it, but for the example, let's give two things. Rome. There was a time when Rome was around, and they had, for the time, a pluralistic view on sexuality and other religions, because even then they had a lot of other things. And then there was this other religion that came around suddenly out of nowhere. And then Rome collapsed. It was kind of weird. Can I ask, which one do you think has more to do with the collapse of society? Like a random, sudden, I don't want to say a cultish organization, but let's just say a upstart religious figure and his followers overtake the entire culture, changing most of the laws and morals and traditions of the society, or butt sex.
I do think it's worth pointing out, though, that this religious figure did travel with a band of 12 men.
That's true.
Amy, you made a good point there, Amy. But we're just looking at it from different perspectives.
Sure.
If you want to talk about the collapse of Rome, I think a lot of factors came into play. I don't know.
Sure.
But I think a huge part of it was getting greedy with the money. Moving away from the iron standard to the gold standard. You just can't get enough gold around
Are you a
to be able to regulate that. I think that absolutely. I believe in freedom.
I'm sorry. You mentioned gold.
I'm a free
I like
market
libertarians,
capitalist.
but I just can't help it.
Yeah.
I
know,
hear a
James,
little
go.
bit of
That
like
was a-
like it's kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church fallacy that I like to do, which is they just because every society has problems in it. Even the most utopian society on earth is still going to have problems. So they just point to whatever those problems are and say, well, there you go. That's the judgment of God. So anytime anything bad happens, that's God judging you, when there's always going to be bad stuff happening, no matter what. Even back when everybody was devout Christians and they lived in the church and everybody was doing that, society still had problems. Even when we were executing people for being gay, society still had problems. So, I mean, it just seems like society just has problems, and in a lot of ways, they're getting better than they have been.
And I just have to say, just really quickly, that that really sucks, Beamsy, for freaking combat vets. That right there means, I mean, and yes, and that is a point. Like I said, I don't want to shit on conservatism, so I'll shit on reactionaryism. They're not going to bring up combat vets, but yeah. We should, and we need to talk more. They're going to go after transgenders. We should be talking more about combat vets, people who actually have served in our country. And also fucking Doorknob Heaven Jenner is just so funny. But couldn't agree more. But yes, I'm sorry, P-Town. Both humor
That's
and
okay.
seriousness at the same time.
I don't want to take up the whole show. I'm sure there's someone else. So
No. Well, there's an amazing human being actually waiting very patiently, but she, I'm trying to think. I just want to go over.
She'll probably be the last.
Yeah, she'll probably be the last caller. I wish I could sell you on, like, I feel like Alpha Centaurian, he's going to sleep well tonight. Like, he is going to go to bed. This is just my opinion. Because he can reconcile. He can reconcile both of these things, and because he doesn't see either of them as dangerous.
But listen
And
here
so-
though. I mean,
Okay.
he admitted though that he's being impacted by some of this stuff, because some of the young Earth creationists have brought up the genetics thing, how the science does in a way point to there is a degrading, although our DNA is really good at self-correcting, but the movement is not in the way that modern science, quote unquote science, will lead you to believe. It's also in a different direction, and the Bible does point to that, and he doesn't have a reputation to that. He admitted that if he has to take the Bible literally, it would be a catastrophe for him, and I understand where he's coming from, because partly I was there in that sense as well. I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing where I became a young Earth creationist. It took a lot of me putting what I thought I knew to be true and what people told me must be true in order for me to get there.
Were you an old Earth creationist in between?
And oh yeah, absolutely. You start reading the Bible, when you start on verse 1 and you start reading it, you're going to take all of these things that you know about. I understand the science behind the Big Bang. I understand evolution. You can read into it. The way that, with what you're coming from. But if you have to put that away to see the full truth in it.
But can I ask, okay, I don't mean to put you on the spot. This will be the rare time.
I mean, you can beat me up all you want.
My. Okay, Steelman, the Big Bang. Why do scientists think the Big Bang happened?
So what you can do is you can measure the stars, and we noticed first that they were, expanding away from us. And then we realized, oh, they're expanding at an accelerated rate. Every direction that we look out, for the most part, it's about the maximum distance is about relatively the same, but that's irrelevant. The point is if you retract that, kind of like rolling back a clock, it'll have it'll all come together, and then you can calculate how long that is, assuming that you can calculate the expansion as well as the rate of expansion and the rate of the acceleration, assuming that all those things remain constant, you can do that, and that would be the naturalistic explanation would be that there was ultimately a singularity, a point, and a beginning. Now, keep in mind that before this knowledge, most of your favorite scientists that you like to hold so dear, Amy, didn't believe in a beginning like that. They believed that the universe was always constant.
Well,
and that was the predominant
many
view.
of the arguments when the Kalam was made and things like that were made for a steady state universe, and now they use it for the Big Bang. But I would say so. There was at least
if you mentioned Big Bad Mama just said, he's gonna educate us about the cosmic microwave background. But just so you know, Big Bad Mama, it is the Bible that says the stars sing. So.
Well, and that was so. There's two pillars. I would say you at least gave a good enough. It isn't just stars; it's everything is moving away from us. In fact, Andromeda is literally the only galaxy that is blue shifted. But you gave the idea that everything is moving away and that it was once in one. Excuse me, sponsored by Sugar Water. The only thing I would say that you were missing, but then Big Bad Mama, is that. Do you understand what the cosmic microwave background radiation is, or at least do you know what do you know anything about
it? You might have to refresh me on the cosmic background radiation, but I remember how it was discovered. At first they thought it was the birds, that were pooping in the antennas, and it's the same stuff that you see when it's the black and white on the old TVs. Okay.
The gradient. Yes. Right. Didn't know where you were going, and then it came around, and I got it. Yes.
Okay, so I have looked into that, but here you can't forget that God He stretched out the heavens, gives detailed explanations of that I think are quite relative now and scientific. If you read like Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, he literally steals words from freaking King James Bible to describe this stuff, which is just the most asinine thing as a Christian man to actually see happen. I'm like, I can't live seeing this happen right before my eyes. So it's clearly there's an adversary at work.
Well, that's one more thing. The sentence I was looking for, and it's a complicated, and we're just all lay people, but it's an early imprint of the universe. And so this is, I hate to use the word literally, this is literally what the early universe looked like.
It's like a ultrasound photo.
Yes, not long after the Big Bang. And sent it so much love, Jena.
Well, you can choose to believe that, and I'm going to choose to believe, since God declared these things first, I'm going to choose to go with the Bible. Now, if you, there's one, but look at what's going on right now. They can't explain the shapes of the galaxies. They can explain what we're observing out there, and not to mention the stars thing, James, that you kind of strawman me on earlier. What was that? Look at. How I mentioned how we don't need to cover the stars thing. How you can't, if you count them with your naked eye, and how the Bible references how they're not countable.
Basically, you said, the Bible says there's a lot of stars. Look, there's a lot of stars. It's not.
It's clearly not what I say, but
roundabout. I think you said that they're uncountable, and they're uncountable.
I like it.
I.e., there's a lot of them.
It's
pretty damn close. I wasn't trying to say something that you didn't say, but that's my.
I know, I love you, James, but you're missing the whole point. Is that if you go out and you count the stars, they are countable. Scientists argued about this for a really long time. We have documentation of how they used to argue with each other through letters, and then. Sure enough, the Bible was right. So, when it comes to the number of the stars, with the advent of the telescope, but that's not proof of anything. But look at the stupid thing that we believe in now in the scientific community. They need to have antimatter, dark matter, all of this nonsense to explain the formations and the actions that are taking place in the universe. And the reason why is because they can't
But do you
explain
know
it without
why?
saying nothing, without saying there's something that we don't know about.
But
And
that
then you
is
want to call that
the-
science. I call it BS.
dark matter is just that it doesn't interact with the visible light spectrum, but we see its interactions. It seems to help
know there's
galaxies
something there.
form very specifically. Just like
There
dark
is something
energy is a
there.
repelling force, which isn't the first term you used. You used anti-matter, which if it meets up with matter makes it go kablooey. But I think I'm going to answer one more question, and then I think we're going to give a personal. I think you triggered Beamsy. I think Beamsy wants to come on for 5 minutes, but then we really do have to give Sinister the last final say on everything. Exactly. We're closing up shop. But
I don't think I've ever been triggered this much on the chat.
Oh. Well, I hope you're still having a good time, P-Town. We always love you. And I always try. You'll notice I stay so silent with Randa. I can't help it because they're all talking, and I want to win. If I want to win you over, I guess going back to the honey with honey, not vinegar, because I think that it's both. I am arguing at least from both a feelings and a thinking perspective. I can openly admit that. I both want to get you over there because of my metaphorical heart, and I think it is the better position. But I'd be remiss if. Well, first of all, sending love out to Gur. Guys, the sus and the Gur streams out there. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the adversary, who just, when you bring him up like that, it just sounds like you're making him, if they existed, way sexier than they have to. But can you talk about, are you talking about the Satan?
Sure. Okay. How much time do I have? I mean, my goodness.
Oh my.
Look, there's a tactic that the adversary, whatever he or she is, okay. There's a few tactics, but where do I start? Look at the Garden of Eden. Hey, didn't God say that you could eat of any tree in the garden? Yeah, it's a half truth, it's a half lie. And that's what's consistent, because he said, except this one, right? But that's one tactic. Also, you're going to see, he hates the Bible. He hates Jesus, even though he can't deny him, can't deny the truth. But you look at, there's a lot of things that are stolen that God declared, and it's twisted and turned, and science wants to have that. Right? I mean, it's the most offensive thing, evolution or Big Bang, that we came from nothing. You just have to read, like I said, read Neil deGrasse Tyson's books, and he uses the same words that the King James Bible used.
Oh,
well, I haven't read Lawrence Krauss's, but the beginning of his book is like. Anyway, the point is there is clearly an adversary out there, and he's powerful and cunning. I see it now as a Christian.
And I guess. This is. I'll even give you the warning. This is kind of a gotcha, but I stand by it. I think that this shows that it's bad reasoning. Okay, is Satan a theist? Does he know that God exists?
I'm sorry. What's that? I mean,
is Satan a theist? Does Satan know that God is? Okay.
Yes. Of course.
Does that violate Satan's free will?
I don't even really know what free will is, honestly. I don't really care for that philosophical jargon. But what do you mean? Like I guess it's just free will. Like you can do what you want. I get it. I get where you're. Okay, in that sense, I get where you're going. I don't know why God made this whole story. I don't know why He made Satan. I don't know why He made good and evil. I don't know why He doesn't just stand out and just tell you, "Here I am." I don't know why He did it this way. Doesn't make it any less true. I'm not God.
I liked all. You were like, you just barraged me with like a bunch of things that I liked so quickly that I had to take it in for a second. Okay. But I would say you're right that it doesn't make it not true, but like it does at least imply if I could just do the final thing, why doesn't God just like, come down, make us all theists?
I think I just said that.
Yeah, send people to
I don't
hell.
know why. I don't know why, but why did he do anything at all? Why does he need anything? Any of us? I think it's a gift, I'm grateful for it. And I think that we should do everything that we can to find out what he wants of us, what his plan is
He
for
could
us.
just tell us.
Maybe what he really wants is for you to ask and for you to meet him halfway. Maybe he does. I don't think he cares how smart we think we are. I don't think that's the point. I don't think it's I don't know, man. I don't know why he did any of this, honestly. But think about it. If he did want to do something, can you think of a better thing? A better solution?
Can I, if I'm being honest, and I mean
Mhm.
this, like I am not kidding, I can. I think I can. Now, when I tell this to a lot of you young Earth creationists, I think they all often give me the, oh, you have the audacity to say that. You have the audacity to say you can design something better than God. Christopher Hitchens and I think Matt Dillahunty, they use the same, you can honestly create a 10 Commandments better on a napkin.
But they're both whack-offs, though. I mean, it's really ridiculous.
Well, can I tell you? And you may view that way only because I hate to say it's like the other, because I love me some Hitchens, and Matt gets testy. However, he's a good guy, and he has a lot of good arguments. However, I can understand why, though he's not.
Whack-offs are a better description.
I can't help it, and I feel bad. I hope P-Town. I always want these to be cathartic. I can hear in your voice. Though I guess what I'm about to do isn't going to make it much. Well, maybe we'll make it better because Beamsy is a theist. Well, we'll see. Probably. Do you mind? And only if you mind.
I think Beamsy would agree they're whack-offs. But
do you mind if I invite? I think Beamsy specifically logged on to talk about something. Do you mind if he comes in?
Well, let me yeah, of course, have him come in. But I want to touch upon something. Earlier, you said it's really dangerous for someone to not fear death. But I also, if you think about it, Amy, you're going to die one day. We're all going to die. And guess what? We're going to be scared. Okay, that's a scary thing to wonder. Absolutely. Where am I going? Am I going anywhere after this? Where am I going? And if God chose to create this whole ensemble, this whole story, and incarnate himself, have a son to go die on a cross for our sins, well, can you think of a better way to answer that question so that we can have a life afterwards? I think so. It's a crazy story, but I can't think of a better thing.
So
and then to have it all foretold in the book thousands of years before it happened.
Tell me if this is more simplified or better. I think you're going to say, well, where would the test be? Okay. I'm just going to make a model. Okay. We have one model. It is, I guess we're doing a comparison again. We have one model. You have to be born. You have to live. You need to find the right God. You need to, and the right denomination of the right God. You need to make sure you follow all the tenets, works and faith, and then die. And then once you die, you have finally begun in heaven. Or system number 2, everyone's in heaven.
Well, first of all, works can't get you to heaven at all. We're all sinners.
Oh, I mean,
in fact,
I included
the longer
that
you're
was
Christian,
an
the more you
and/or
realize
statement
that.
because I know that is a Christian versus Christian fight. Yeah. The whole that's in programming. That's an and/or statement. Take one, take both. But like, wouldn't it be your God? You have a bunch of people. Poof, heaven.
Did I miss something? Sorry, was that a question?
No, that was the process. I know it was so fast, but like, and it
What'd you say? What heaven? I missed something.
like one process. So we want God's goal is to get people to heaven, right?
I don't know. I don't think
It
so.
seems like the goal is to just have a bunch of people burning in hell. I mean,
And
if that's what was his goal, he's accomplishing that very well.
But I also don't want to straw man your position. I mean, is God's goal?
Gur always brings up the hell thing, and I think I don't really want to go down that line. Again, I always say the same thing. I haven't really studied hell, but I looked a little bit at what heaven might be.
Well, hey, we're still seeking about the carrot.
I mean, I don't know why he did all this stuff, man. But I do care. I do want you guys to come hang out with me in this, like, I don't know, hotel or with fancy rooms or whatever that heaven is.
And
in the presence of God. I don't know.
I hear like sadness in your voice when you say this, but I want you to know, like a Christian, maybe other theists or may jump on you. I hate to draw with that big a brush, but a skeptic, we love it when people say they don't know. Like it's hard in the moment because it feels like you're admitting you don't know something, but it's our mantra because it saves us from accepting bad beliefs.
Chris is so funny. Big bad mama.
You're getting spicy.
I don't know a lot of things. Yeah. I don't know a lot of things, but I will tell you, it's not just because I care about you. I'm also selfish in some ways. You know, Bible talks about having crowns. You know, there's a hierarchy in heaven, and I want one of those crowns. And, you know, I think that going out on a limb, you know, going into the lion's den with atheists, you know, might get me a little crown or whatever that is. The Bible talks about. I don't know who that is.
Presuppositionalists. They're for so much fun, and we're actually going to have a switch up. Beamsy was like, I've already been in the ring. We're going to have Sinister Porpoise join us, P-Town. So the skeptics, the atheists, we just like talking with, and so she probably would way enjoy more anyway being on. And so we're going to give you extra time because we're going to bring her on. Thank you, by the way, for doing all this. And then this is the last calls, but we are bringing on the Sinister Porpoise. Oh, of course. Yell obscenities into YouTube.
To address his last point, if he really wants a crown, you can go get one of these at Walmart for like $20. I have actually one of my college textbooks here. I have to wonder. This is a computer science textbook. So does the adversary have anything to do with this textbook?
I have no idea.
Most likely.
I mean, if you took discrete structure...
He asked Muhammad. Muhammad,
computer
did you
science.
write that textbook?
It says, Mr. Amy Newman has to do with that textbook.
Muhammad's textbook.
Now, there are some things... Sorry. There are some things that I saw happening that I think Amy was touching on as well. First off, I see a lot of confirmation bias in some of your arguments against trans people. And it's something I call argument from personal ickiness. Listen, no one's saying you have to get trans people, but I don't know why you have this idea that all trans people are gay. Asexual trans people exist. Some trans people are straight. Stop conflating those two things in your mind. Another thing is you didn't really pay attention to some of the studies you're trying to cite. While there is a 42% suicide rate among transgender youth, you didn't read the rest of that study. Hi, Athena. Or whoever told you that study didn't quote the part that's relevant. The suicide rate goes down after transition, and it goes down to about normal levels. And the reasons the suicide rates are so high is because society doesn't treat trans people well. Let's see. And you also brought up something about the increase of sexually transmitted diseases when evolution was taught. Well, that's not quite correct. We do know that sexually transmitted diseases, in the United States at least, are transmitted most among teenagers in the states that have abstinence-only sex education, because they're not told how to prevent these diseases. Now, I also see some of your arguments involve something known as confirmation bias and an argument from ignorance. An argument from ignorance just says, I don't know, therefore God. That's what you're doing a lot of the times. And science doesn't do that. Science just says, we don't know, let's find out. I mean, there's a lot of things in science we don't know. We don't know what happened before the Big Bang. We don't know how life got started quite yet. Abiogenesis is a hypothesis. We can be fairly certain that life evolved after the first cell replicated and got started. But you can't have evolution until the first cell reproduces, and there are some differences in the resulting cells after that. Before life exists, you can't have evolution. All right, did I get everything? And I have to wonder, given how very you seem to be overly focused on gay people, what would you say to the transgender asexual people who exist? Go ahead, P-Town.
Well, first of all, I just want to reiterate that this topic, I did it out of a courtesy to Amy because she asked me to. I try to emphasize that I don't know the proper terms. I don't know what transgender is. I don't know if even saying gay is the right term or what's right and wrong. I know none of that. I do think that there is a correlation, and I think it is consistent that there are diseases associated with, men having sex with each other. Usually it corresponds with wieners doing most of the job. I don't know how else to say it, but
That is my favorite sentence tonight.
yeah. I don't have any hate at all towards. In fact, like I said, my interpretation of Romans 1 is that it's a judgment upon a culture, and part of the
All right, I
battle
need
that
to
I
interrupt
fight.
you for a second.
Mhm.
I'm an ex-Mormon. Don't quote the Bible at me.
Well, I'm sorry, Sinister Purpose. I'm a Christian,
Corpus.
and I'm going to use the Bible.
But trying to threaten me with hell isn't going to work because the Mormons don't have the same concept.
Also, when it comes to the reason why people when you want to talk about abiogenesis and how you don't like to associate that with evolution is because they're both fables. They're not true. They're just made up ideas, a way to interpret made up processes and try to explain something that we don't know and we never will.
Oh,
Hold
like
on.
Genesis,
Whether or not it came about by thoroughly natural processes or a god did it, it's still abiogenesis. It's life from inanimate materials. The only difference is how it happened. Scientists are trying to figure out how it could happen naturally. You're saying God did it. That's the only difference.
If you want to call God making man out of the dust of the ground and making woman out of a man's rib abiogenesis, then sure, we can just agree. It's
Is
fine.
God making... Sorry, go ahead, James.
no, I didn't say anything.
Is God making something living from non-living matter in the example you just gave.
You mean non-living into living matter?
Yes, and it's a yes or no
What I'm
question,
saying
so it
is,
has to answer yes or no.
if you want to call what the Bible says as abiogenesis, then fine. We can agree that it's abiogenesis if you want to define it that way.
I need to go back because it was a yes or no question. Is God making non-living matter living matter by doing that?
Sure.
By definition, that is abiogenesis.
Well, not when it comes to Eve.
No, but that's Adam.
But anyway,
would be
I
the
don't.
first
We don't.
life
I
in
mean,
that
we're just
example,
playing.
but
My point is, we're just playing a word game. You know,
well, the
I'd rather
problem
move
is
on.
you're trying to say my definition is correct, not realizing under what the definition is. Naturally, being a computer science major, we do like to break things down to decision trees. But as a personal note, I think I see a lot of internalized homophobia in you. And I think instead of objecting about all this, I think you may need to do some self-reflection.
I don't think I'm that homophobic, even though, like I said earlier, I don't like how it's pushed upon our children these days. I mean, it's pretty much a requirement that it has to be in in every cartoon and in every sitcom. And I think, like I said, I do think that it's employed by the enemy, the adversary, as Amy likes for me to call it.
Just sounds sexy, you know. He's not just Satan, he's the adversary.
I think the Bible
I think
does
the
say that
Hebrew
Satan
word
is
for
sexy,
him
though.
was the adversary. Yeah, that's what Satan, I think, means in Hebrew.
Does Satan have a good, like, head of hair? That might be off topic. We can keep on going.
I don't know. I've seen Lucifer.
I know, right?
Someone asked, "What's P-Town watching?" Oh, well, one of them was a silly Toy Story cartoon. Yeah, it's even in there.
Anyway, I think you may need to do some self-reflection. But this is something you need to do on your own, and it takes time. I mean, I didn't decide Mormonism was false overnight. It took some time. It took me giving myself permission to look at non-Mormon sources and figuring out, hey, a lot of the stuff they're saying actually happened.
Chris, what am I lying about? Well, I think I do a lot of self-reflection every day, and I think that I have done a diligent job, and I'd like to do more of pursuing what is true, honestly, sinister.
I want you to think about why you're so hung up on gay people. Anyway, I wanted to come back to something.
I had that discussion because Amy asked me to. It's really not a focal point in my life.
Well, and I will say this is going to be sinister. If you want, maybe we'll just instead of giving you, because you're a skeptic and atheist, we'll go for 10 more minutes, and then I'm going to give both of you your closings, and then we're going to head out of here.
I just wanted to come back to something Beamsy said at this point, because it was something I recall being said, and he said the Fibonacci sequence came up with by Fibonacci, and that's not quite correct. Fibonacci was the first European to describe it, but the sequence was known in Indian literature since 200 of the current era. And I had to look that one up because I remember the calculus professor last semester saying it, and I got that from the Australian Mathematical Sciences Institute.
Well, what I was referring to was the sense that Beamsy's getting, that there possibly is a God that made this, and he mentioned the Fibonacci sequence, but what he's referencing is the golden ratio, which is it's an art. It's in the way things twist and turn and spiral, the ratios between our eyes and our nose. It's on even a lot of man-made things like just the light fixture, just the square, or I guess the rectangle, of our light fixtures, and just look around. It's used all the time. It's not something that it's what God made. Actually, sinister.
I didn't. What does that have to do with me correcting Beamsy where it was first described?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you.
I would say that
I'm
math
sorry.
is
I didn't mean to put any words in your mouth, Beamsy. I did miss the first part of what you were talking about, by the way, Beamsy. I apologize. So, trying hard not to put words in your mouth.
I would say that the rules of math and logic are descriptive and are things we invented. We're just describing things that are there. God did not create mathematics. We did.
And okay, I think what it's actually best to do is we're going to go in opposite order because I want Sinister, you're going to be able to say whatever you want for as long as you want. And then P-Town, we're going to let you say the exact same thing. And then James and I are going to wrap it up. But it has been fun. We have been calling us skeptical on creationism. It has been fantastic. But Sinister Porpoise, the floor is all yours again. Creationism.
Young, I don't really care if people believe in old Earth creationism. Usually younger old Earth creationism is accepting the science, just saying God set the events in motion. Young Earth creationism, you kind of have to deny a lot of science we know, and you have to accept things that are impossible in order to get there. But, when it comes down to it, as long as young Earth creationists aren't teaching science, aren't doing things in science that actually rely on evolutionary beliefs, it doesn't really matter if they believe it or not, or whether or not they understand that a lot of biology just doesn't work without evolution. And I only had a college biology course. I'm not an expert. I am a non-traditional student studying the entirely wrong thing to be an expert in it. That's why I do listen to people who know more than I do, and I just don't flat out reject them, even though I may be skeptical about some things where I think maybe they're going a little too fast. I'm not entirely sold on, even though the evidence does point to that, oh great, that the sixth mass extinction is being human caused. I think we may be overestimating our abilities, but at the same time, I may be wrong. So remember, everyone, be excellent to each other, and so long, and thanks for all the fish.
Thank you, Sinister.
Bye, Sinister! And also, Jena said she wants your crown. And also, I think she's going to build you a giant one. Something about we need more. We all need more crowns and flair. And all right.
I think they said they were going to get a P-Town and Burger King crown. Since he said he's fighting for his crown.
My daughter loves her princesses. Wonder if she has a princess crown.
And sending love to everyone out there.
I'm a princess.
We'll give final shout outs
Princess Town.
in a second, but I do want to give P-Town all of the time that you can. We have been calling us skeptical on creationism. Really do. I know it gets spicy and everything, but we really do love our theist brothers and sisters coming on, sharing their experiences with us. P-Town, creationism, the floor is yours.
James, Amy, I appreciate you guys for having me on here. You know, I want to say thanks to the chat, even though I think a lot of people can't stand me. I'm really here just trying to play my role. I believe that the logical explanation and that the evidence points to God and the God of the Bible. I think it's pretty clear. I think that modern science, when it comes to astronomy, a lot of it's a bunch of baloney because they can't answer a lot of the questions. You know, I touched upon dark matter, but I didn't get into, the solar system. I mean, it seems to me that God made all these planets completely different in their own ways. You really can't explain it unless you want to just say that a bunch of asteroids hit at all different times. And you guys can't stand it when I point out that the sun and the moon are the same size from our perspective. You don't want. I mean, it's not fun to look at how a butterfly is formed. And looking at how there's animals. Just even within our gut, there's animals, little tiny microbes that we need in order to digest things properly, or how some little fish that swim underneath the sharks to eat the scraps, they all kind of sometimes there's animals that need each other, and it's a beautiful thing. I think that it's clear that God made this world, and when it comes to the LGBTQ stuff, I don't really know anything about it. I think that God loves everybody, and that you don't have to change who you are to come to God. I think that I learned that on. I think that God does the work. When I didn't, in order for me to be an atheist to now a Christian, I didn't have to change who I am. I'm still the same skeptical person I've always been. It tries to seek the truth and find answers to things, and I don't have all the answers. I want Beamsy to take me to Antarctica so I can look at the ice cores. I'm not afraid of seeking out truth.
Careful, if you say his name twice more, he randomly appears.
I was hoping he'd come on, but anyway, have a good night, everybody.
He put Sinister up to bat. I think all of our skeptics, we all feel, we all come with our own expertises. So I think it was a great conversation, and I really do want to thank you, P-Town, for coming on and being honest. I can tell you're putting your heart on your sleeve, and that's all. We appreciate that. It doesn't feel like you're bullshit or anything. Exactly, and hopefully you're getting the same from us. And I know you're saying the chat hates you. That we all secretly we love it when the theists are on here. We love it when it gets spicy, and in the same way that even though we may say things and all this, in the same way that you are trying to maybe win people over for Christ, in our eyes, we love our brothers and sisters. We're trying to win you over too, in as you would say, in good faith.
To reason and sanity and
see, gotta love.
All right, appreciate you guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, P-Town.
The sinister
Especially
porpoise,
you, Krish.
P-Town. Mwah.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! All right, that was fun. A lot of good conversations.
It's good to be back on. Good to be
It was good to be back on. It was good to be live. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live, folks.
It was good to see everyone.
Miami Dolphins play tomorrow. San Francisco 49ers, 4 o'clock.
Go Porpoises? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, go Porpoises.
Oh, just let me do that for 1 second. Okay, there we go. The pressure of these. Okay, I do want to send love out there. Porpoises aren't good football players. That's probably true. It's the lack of thumbs. It does them in. They look adorable in the outfits, though, for some reason. Woo! Sending love, James. I see Tim and Porpoises in chat, and James Wolfe and Krish and Fecknell and Michael Smith and JG and Big Band Mama and I think I said, did I say Michael Smith? If not Michael Smith again, living room speakers, infant relocation service. That is the stuff. Up there with I still like Titan, Your Anus, and Stupid Horror Energy. Still some of the best names out there, but there's lots of ties and stuff. Doorknob Head, Binge Thinker, Grumpy Old Cuss. Perfect. Everybody. Norfolk. Jacob Cheeseman. Regos. That's right. No kink shaming, unless they're into that. Anyway, we hope that you all had. Is there any other? I'm trying to think of anything else except for I actually started working on the script for the Avatar mythic structure thing because I've realized that if James Cameron beats me, that holy shit, that means I've really been. If James Cameron releases a new movie before you have released the subject, you may be. That's like getting beat by George R.R. Martin at a book writing contest for time. What?
What was the first Avatar? Was that 2011?
2009. I know this because I'm doing research. And I also love George R.R. Martin. Sending love. He has amazing books.
About 14 years ago.
Wiener. What? Yes, it is it's been a chunk of change. Been more than a decade. It still looks good, I think, in my opinion, and I'm a VFX nerd. Holds up because of all the
It was cutting edge.
And it's gonna, in my opinion, I always say don't bet against James Cameron. I think it is gonna hit the records. I think everyone is going to go watch it multiple times, and people, they do all this. What happens is when people forget about the story, all that remains is the plot, the skeleton, and people go Dances with Wolves, and all that kind of stuff, which is plot. The plot is how you set everything, but the story, you went because first of all, I guess you go in because of the plot. You go in because it's aliens and blue creatures and things like that. You stay because you learn that Jake Sully is a ragtag. He is a former combat veteran himself. He's lost his legs. He's a paraplegic. But he has this playful attitude, even though, he gets to one of the opening scenes is him getting thrown out of a bar. That's where the contractors find him. So he's a paraplegic and still getting into fights. You go with him because he gets this new set of legs. You're able to go on this hero's journey where he actually finds a new reason for living. He wants to defend this tribe. He wants to defend people who he feels are being picked on. I think, as he said, and this is a great characteristic for a main character, I don't like bullies. It's a kind of mentality that you can get behind even when people are mining operations and mining for minerals. And so the last two things I'll say, then we'll leave on it.
No, I don't
is,
have my own
Though we are going to get more James W. stuff. You said you had an idea of doing some sort of recording, and
I still gotta, yeah. Holidays kind of made that a little
understandable. But I'm just gonna say, there are fans out there, so we need some more James W. content. You tell me, and
Oh, it's
producer
coming.
Gizmo and myself.
It's
What
coming.
was the last? That's what he or she said. What was the last?
Not related to Anthony.
Oh, you go because first of all, it's a roller coaster. He creates this thing where it almost feels like you're in a dream. That was the exact expression that he said that he was going for, and the reason why this will work, he has an enduring story that theme for the story that I just know is universal because James always works in universals, but the entire theme of this movie is family. Speaking of a thing that we were talking about before, it is about defending your family because they're being hunted by and once again, this is no spoiler. This is everything I know from just trailers, from reading about it and everything. But it's going to be a very similar story. It's going to be learning how to ride, learning how to do all the things that gave it that fantasy quality feel. And yeah, once again, that'll be coming soon, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think that's my other. Actually, I do have one last thing I keep on selling. Give me 1 second to keep on getting it up there. Actually, do I have it? Should have it in the banner. But if you would like to get your podcast produced, Gizmo and myself actually are producing on Fiverr. So
Is that the way to pronounce it? You were
That-
told on that last time.
I think it's called Fiverr. Is it a Fiverr? Oh, yeah, maybe I read Fiverr. You're right. I say it wrong. Might be Fiverr because you
I
get a
don't know.
five. I don't know. One of those. But go take a look if you would like. The link on screen. And I'm Amy Rose Newman on there. And yeah, I've helped one guy on there, and I'm looking to get more. But that's about it. I think there's going to be lots of more fun content, free content, because all of our content, except for all of the supporter stuff, we then link it and drain it down into all free for subscribers and viewers. But yeah, we've been blabbing on. That's my spiel. I'm sticking to it. I hope you all had a fun time. That's right. Don't even try on this episode of Call Us Skeptical Creationism, where we opened up the internet phone lines to see why anyone would believe in creationism. For
Clearly.
a creatively fun time. But I hope
Intense.
I hope that you all are sending love, and I want to send love to my co-host, James W., along with
Thank
our
you.
guest, Bing, Bing, Beamsy, Alpha Centurion, P-Town, and Porpoise, woo! Along with all of the lovely people in chat, our amazing mods who make this stream so great, and of course, fantastic viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you enjoy the show, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Then gain access to that bell icon, which when hit to all will send you reminders to see our many
Thanks,
new
Jordan.
premieres, as well as our all lovely live shows like this one. Or hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done after the show the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server opens up for the after show, the link of which is in the description below. Lastly, if you'd like to help us make even more fun content, you can help us by becoming a channel member, which is in the description below with the Discord, with all of our lovely listeners, as well as a Patreon at our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I'm Amy Newman. We'll see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night. Mwah.
Night, guys.